right, well, welcome to the November 18th budget meeting. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Is there any public comment? I guess we'll move on to Plymouth Community Ambulance.
Okay, I'll slide in the center here so everybody can see me if you don't know me. I'll give another introduction about myself and Plymouth Ambulance, Chief of Plymouth Ambulance, Tom Frajansky. A little bit about Plymouth Ambulance. We run close to 16,000 emergency dispatches a year. We'll probably break 16,000 this year, a little over 16,000, the largest ambulance organization in Montgomery County out of 19 ambulance organizations that people dial 911 for. We cover approximately 74 to 76 square miles, 12 townships, and all of our trucks are staffed with career staff supplemented by volunteers. The townships that we serve currently are East Norriton, West Norriton, Plymouth Township, Norristown, Borough, Bridgeport, portions of Worcester, and then so the organization has 4 ambulance stations. Obviously, Plymouth Township, the 192 Germantown Pike is the headquarters, the original, and we'll always maintain the original. With that being said, there's a station in Norristown, there's one in East Norriton, and there's one in Schwenksville, which the ambulance organization up there went defunct in 2014, November of 2014. We tried to work with them to keep them alive, but it just didn't happen after 2 years, so their organization asked if we could merge with them. So in that territory, which is known as our C station, the 4th station, we cover solely Upper Frederick, Lower Frederick, Schwenksville Borough, parts of Upper Salford almost, well, a little bit more than Upper Salford, parts of Limerick, and then about a third of Perkiomen Township. So that's where we derive 16,000 dispatches from a year. Every year I come here, I ask if there's any questions. If anybody wants to know about EMS or what Plymouth Ambulance does, if you do, feel free to speak. The income for the organization for it to operate is done through direct billing. 40% plus of our call volume has zero return, and that comes from either people with no insurance. I don't like the stereotype, but usually most of the people that we handle that are either drug overdoses from heroin and things of that sort, fentanyl, they don't have any money or insurance. Then the next lowest provider is Medicaid, which reimburses the organization per call. If the patient has Medicaid, $111. Medicare reimburses an ALS call, an advanced life support call, which is a call that is paramedics required on. Whether they either intubate, provide drugs, defibrillate, a whole host of paramedic skills, that's considered an advanced life support call. Medicaid reimburses in the neighborhood of $420. A basic life support call, which is an EMT, emergency medical technician, that's a level down from a paramedic. The reimbursement rate is around $350. And then you're left with people that either try to self-pay or third-party insurances like Blue Cross, Aetna, Blue Cross, Aetna, any type of HMO type of insurance. They usually pay somewhere in the neighborhood of $600 to $1,200. Right? Our average cost to run a truck out of the station staffed is $1,100 before it even hits the road. So you can see how the organization and EMS as a whole, for many years, has suffered. There are some townships that donate appropriations to the organization. We survive off of that, Plymouth Township being one of them. We also survive somewhat to buy capital expenditures, ambulances, defibrillators, medications, anything that an ambulance needs to go out along with the personnel. That comes through either a membership drive, which we mail out 45,000, 48,000 mailings a year, and we get 2,700 in return. We also do a equipment drive, which we send out in September to create money for the operating expense, and we only get about $1,800, sometimes $1,900, but $1,800 is about the average, and that generates only $79,000. So Plymouth Ambulance, the staffing over there, as I said before, is primarily career staff, because volunteers have to work to create an income for themselves also. Like I said, we do have volunteers on our trucks. They're sporadic. It's still a volunteer organization. It is a 501c3 like the fire departments. It's a nonprofit, but it is a public service, a public entity, which falls under the public safety, which is police, fire, and EMS. A new ambulance. So let's talk about some numbers so you have an idea. You just heard all the internal operating costs. A new ambulance, unstocked, just the ambulance itself, is around $270,000. A defibrillator, $42,000. A automatic cot, power load, or I'm sorry, just a mechanical cot that goes up, that's $27,000. So you can see, to get an ambulance just stocked with equipment and the truck itself, you're well over $350,000. So this year what we're doing is we are going to remount an ambulance, and that's why I'm here, because you'd like to know a little bit about the organization. For many years, the organization has always, Plymouth Township, the Board of Supervisors, has always increased a little bit here and there over the years, both fuel and an appropriation to the township. But this year, besides that, if you could continue that, remount for an ambulance, and that's basically to have a new chassis, but take the box off an old ambulance and put it on there, is $140,000. And that is our ask this year, if that's obtainable, and the township sees that as a fair appropriation, along with the existing appropriation.
In addition to what we usually give,
Yes.
140 plus. Do all of the other municipalities that you service contribute to you?
Some of them do, yes, some of them don't. Like, for instance, Bridgeport Borough has no money. So they don't. Upper or Lower Frederick Township, yes, they're very comparable to the appropriation at Plymouth Township. And you've been here before, Karen, so you've heard this speech a couple of times.
I guess I'm asking for the new, just so they get a
There's
flavor.
no new people. Nobody wants. The only time people care about EMS is when they're either having a heart attack, a stroke, or something happens. That's when people think about EMS. Right.
I'm shocked at how few memberships you get. 2,700?
2,700, yeah.
48,000.
Well, it's really 44,800 that we send out.
Oh,
And that's to the 12 townships that we cover.
That's still
That's low.
unbelievably low.
You figure if every household, gave $100, we wouldn't be really sitting here. I mean, I'd still be sitting here asking for something, but, that would cover our payroll.
Yeah, that's amazing to me. So few.
Yeah. But I can tell you that with, Plymouth Ambulance, whenever we have new equipment, it goes to this station here first on Germantown Pike, because we bear the name Plymouth Ambulance, right? And it's associated with Plymouth Township since 1963. Our equipment is probably I wouldn't say the newest, but some of the highest technology equipment that we can afford out there. And I will tell you that there are ambulance organizations that have ambulances that if you got in the back of them, you would probably rather go in an Uber, 10, 12, 15 years old. Our first out ambulances are no older than 3 years old. And that was a decision that I brought up to the board back in 2019. We do get a better return value after 3 full years instead of running the trucks into the ground for 5 or 6 years and getting no return value. So we can offset the purchase of a new ambulance with that. But, I can't sleep at night trying to run a 10 or an 8-year-old ambulance down the street, knowing that the crew's in there, maybe they're transporting a pediatric or, anybody that's in critical state to a hospital and the thing stops in the middle of the highway. So we run it very tight, we run it very professionally, but that comes at a cost too. I mean, we could let our equipment go for an extra 5 or 6 years, but then we're not really doing the service that we're supposed to be doing to the communities that we serve. But if there's any questions that I can answer, and I always offer this, if you would like to come over and see the organization and how the organization is run and meet some of the medics and the EMTs, you're more than welcome to at any point in time. We are a very transparent organization, much more so than 20 years ago when other people were running it.
Great.
I'm sorry?
That would be great.
Yeah, more than welcome. I offer that every year to every township. I don't see anybody, but feel free to call.
So if the township did contribute the $140,000 that you're looking for, that ambulance is here? Is that what you said, that typically like they
Correct.
stationed at Plymouth first?
Correct. Yeah. Matter of fact, so we run normally 6 ambulances. Each of the 4 stations has a primary truck. They're all ALS. Well, I'm not going to say they're all ALS. ALS meaning they have a paramedic and at least an EMT on it. There are some times, I would say, we run high 99% on ALS ambulances out of all of our stations. Sometimes there's a call out, medic calls out at 5 minutes to the shift, and then you struggle to get a paramedic, but 99% plus of the time, all of our stations are ALS. It's a medic and an EMT or 2 medics on the truck. With that, then we operate 2, we call them flow trucks, systems management trucks. So let's just say Norristown goes out on a call, right? Instead of taking the ambulance out of the Plymouth station here on 902 Germantown Pike and running that up to like a center point, which usually we would consider Fairfield and Plymouth, we have a flow truck which has an officer on it. That truck goes and maintains systems management over in Norristown. Now, if the main station goes out, so you have 2 stations that are out, that flow truck will then centralize, so you decrease your response time to territories. And that's how we run our whole system. Other organizations have tried to do that. They cannot make it happen. I don't know why, but I can tell you that we started it in 2001, and we continue to do it, and we do it well. So the way that you get an ambulance to a house or a location, unlike police where they're constantly mobile, the way we can decrease it, and also for the fire departments, is if you have either trucks in an area that's centralized or you have people that are moving around, right? So what we do is we move people around. You can put as much, and Chief Merciades can tell you, and so can Chief Hoffman, you can put as much red lights as you want on a vehicle. You can put as many sirens as you want on a vehicle. You can put as many air horns as you want on a vehicle. People do not move. And when there's traffic, that's time. And my saying is, I don't know how long you can hold your breath, but 1 minute makes a difference. So that's why we play the systems management game. We have trucks moving around constantly.
Are other municipalities also being asked to contribute to the cost of this?
Yes.
vehicle
Well,
enhancement?
yeah, we ask them to contribute to other things, but sometimes we get it, sometimes we don't. But so anyway, what I was getting back at, the 2 trucks that are out of here, the one truck that services Plymouth Township isn't even over a year old. The one that comes out of the main station. The flow truck, which we call, that's 18 months old, 19 months old. You're welcome. I have one other thing. So again, 15 years now. We started the Operation Christmas Kids. I'd like to just hand this out if you want to take a look at it. Feel free to stop over. This is 15 years of Operation Christmas Kids. So 16 years ago, I came home from working in the ER. I work as a physician assistant in the ER. That's another thing that I do. 11:30 at night, week before Christmas, I watch TV, the news, in between the news and 11:30, whatever show was coming on, is that Danny Thomas Foundation Hospital. I'm sure everybody's seen that, St. Jude's. I said, listen, I know a lot of people. There's something we should be able to do for children. So I had an officer meeting in February, and I said, listen, we need to do something for kids. And basically what had happened was that year we started Operation Christmas Kids. It's for police, fire, and EMS in Montgomery County, but it has proliferated out to Chester, Berks, and Delaware County now. It includes a whole host of departments, fire, EMS, and police. State police are involved, Philly Highway's involved, ambulance and police and fire from many different counties. The park rangers are involved. Channel 6 News is involved. So what we do is we send these flyers out every year. It goes out to all public safety entities. It goes out to businesses. We have well over 100 collection boxes out this year. And all we ask for is a new unwrapped toy. And what we do is at 1 o'clock we leave Plymouth Ambulance, parade type procession from Plymouth Ambulance, and we go down to Bryn Mawr Hospital to their NICU, and we drop off somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 to 800 presents there. And then we go from Bryn Mawr Hospital to St. Christopher's, and usually we leave 6,000-7,000 gifts there. So it's a big thing. It's a toy run for children in the hospitals. And during COVID, the CEO of Tower Health called me, who oversees St. Christopher's, and basically said, "Listen, are you guys coming down here this year?" And I said, "Yeah, well, why wouldn't we? Is it a COVID issue or something?" He said, No. We really need you to come down, because if it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't have kids throughout the whole year for the children that are in the hospital. So it's not just for the holidays. It's also for if there's a child in the hospital getting a severe surgery, or they're getting they have a femur fracture and they're in there under orthopedics for a couple days and it's their birthday. Families are usually strapped for money. They have to pay the insurance, and sometimes, usually in the city, people just don't have money to begin with. The hospital can at least give a couple gifts to a child. So, if you know anybody, excuse me, there's an email address on there. It's toyrun24@medic308.org, and you want to get involved, let us know. We drop the boxes off. We'll pick the boxes up December 7th, 9:30. We open the doors. We have pictures. We take pictures with Santa Claus in the room. Families do come there. We do get a lot of families. It's actually kind of busy. We print it out. Families get their picture with Santa Claus, with their children, newborns, 10-year-olds. There's a food truck there. We have a band. It's very crowded over there, but it's fun. We'd love to see you there.
Thank you. Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is the same collection that's happening at the community center, like there, like
Yes, it is.
Spot, and
This is not Toys for Tots. This is Operation Christmas Kids. Yes.
is Greg Scott's office also involved?
No, I don't think Greg is involved. I saw him at the zoo gala, and he said he was going to get in touch with me. He never did.
You want me to send him a
Zoo
reminder?
is. Yeah, sure, you're more than welcome to. And if you send me an email, I don't have a card, but it's simple. It's chief@medic308.org. Karen has my information too. We'll send you over the electronic format of that, and you can do whatever you want. And if you need us to print out, we print it out. Yeah. Well, yes, the community center has that. Joanna has that. I think it's supposed to be up at the Plymouth Meeting Mall. We usually get it up there every year. We get a really good turnout. Something for the children.
It's awesome.
It sure is. All right. Anything else?
Thank you.
No. Karen, it's been nice working with you.
Yes, thank you.
I'm sure I'll see you before the end of the year, but
Yeah,
thank you for your time.
sure, you're welcome.
Do you want to take these back for posting?
No, we have a ton of them.
Oh, okay.
They're for you. Put them in your office. Unless you need me to stay, I'm going to take off.
Somewhere.
You're welcome to stay.
I'd love to.
That was an overwhelming gesture.
You need me to help you?
If you do find out anything about that,
I did. You know what?
It's a Saturday. It's a Saturday because the 14th is 21st. I know it's Christmas party days for me.
He doesn't see anything on the runs.
all right, all right.
Not that we took care of.
Right.
So I have no problems.
I appreciate it, thank you.
I just sent you his contact.
Thank you. That's awesome. Thank you.
Next thing is the presentation of the 2025 general fund budget. So each year I read this message into the record. The 2025 budget was presented to council on October 21st, 2024. Advertised workshop meetings were held on October 21st and 28th with department directors and the township's emergency services providers, Harmonville Fire Company and Plymouth Fire Company, and tonight with the Plymouth Ambulance. Final adoption is scheduled for the regular meeting of December 9th, 2024. We have made the proposed balanced budget document available on the township website. Revenues for 2025 are projected at $29,302,063. The earned income tax represents 29% of revenues, business taxes are 28%, and the real estate tax is 17%. Budgeted real estate tax collections are based on a proposed millage of 2.057. The fire services fee is based on a proposed millage of 0.835 mils. A typical Plymouth home assessed at $180,000 would pay $371 in real estate taxes for all municipal services and $150 for fire services. The assessed value for all property in the township is $1.684 billion. Total general fund expenditures for 2025 are projected at $26,846,868, an increase of 5.91% from last year. The police department is the largest expenditure at 39% of the budget, followed by sanitation and public works at 11%, and fire and emergency management at 8%, and buildings and grounds at 5%.
Helen, can I ask a question? I think you told us this, so I'm sorry for making you repeat yourself potentially, but if this is the increase, the millage increase from last year to this year, what does that represent in terms of dollars for a homeowner who owns a home that's worth $180,000? I know you did tell us that.
Yeah, so
Ask
it
again.
would be an increase of about $18 a year for someone assessed value of $108,000.
Thank you.
$180,000.
With the proposed millage.
Yes.
Which is a tenth of a mill
Increase.
increase.
Yeah.
Is being recommended.
Thank you.
We just want to go this.
Yeah, I think we should. So typically, in order, so you guys know the agenda, we're going to go through the sewer fund, the capital reserve fund, then we'll go on to contributions to the fire companies and the ambulance, the nonprofits, the sports groups, and then at the end, the 2025 millage. We'll discuss that. That's the agenda order. So we're going to stick to that, I guess, and go to the sewer fund next.
Okay. So on page 1 of the sewer fund, all this is an overview of the past couple of years, as well as the 2025 budget and what we're projecting to earn and spend in 2024. We can get more into depth into the 2025 budget in the next couple of pages, but for the most part, as you see in 2024 and 2025, we had a budgeted deficit. We were expecting to pay a large sum of money for the Sewer Ridge Pike Intercept. Was it Phase 3 Interceptor project?
Plymouth Interceptor.
Yeah, Plymouth Interceptor project. That's about, the low bid was $4.6 million, so this is a transfer from the general fund to cover that expense.
Right. And that's the one we just recently got the $900,000 LSA grant for through, and it had been recommended when the bids were opened probably a year ago or more, because they were so much higher than what the engineer estimate was. He thought it would be about $2 million. And then the low bid, like Helen said, was over $4 million. The high bid was $6.3 million or something like that. So at that time, Township Engineer Alan Mason, the sewer engineer, recommended to reject all bids and try to get a grant. And that took a year, which we just did, and we were successful to get that. And now it's really time to put that job back out to bid and hope that the inflation didn't catch up the $900,000 that we got the grant for, because who knows until you put it out to bid what it really will cost. But that's what that over $4 million is for. That's a project that really has to get done. No doubt about it.
Anyone has any questions, we can go to page, or any more questions, we can move on to page 2.
Did everybody see the box at the bottom of that page? So even though it's projected to be a $3.5 million deficit, there is $3.94 million in the balance, the beginning balance. So, you know, it really won't be such a large negative, it'll be just a slight positive balance.
Yeah, we'll still have a positive operating balance.
Yeah.
Yep.
But the box is important there.
So on page 2 is the revenues. For the most part, the revenues we're expecting are to keep them the same. Yeah, obviously, we're going to increase the current rate about 9%, which is what we have been doing for the past 5 or 6 years. And this is just to keep up with all the projects that we are taking on and make sure that we have a stable cash balance. And as you'll see in another couple of pages, our proposed rate is still one of the cheapest ones in Montgomery County. Further below, the connection fees, we're projecting to have another $125,000 this year. And for Conshohocken Borough and sewer sanitary outfall, we just keep $10,000 in there for each year, just in case if we would actually get anything for those tapping fees. On page 3 is the beginning of the expenses. For administration, there's not a whole much increase there. The main increase is for the salary, is for our sewer billing administrator. That's where half of his salary comes out of. For collection system, again, it's not a whole much of an increase there. Projecting to have pretty much the same amount of expenses as we were projecting for last year. So we're not expecting a whole lot of increase in expenses for the collection system. On page 4, the treatment costs. For the first one, the East Norton plant, we get this directly from the plant itself. The sewer treatment, we're expecting to go up 10.47%, or $116,961. For the other two, for the Conshohocken and the other organizations, we're proposing to keep those the same. The capital contributions, again, we get these directly from the plant. For the East Norton Plymouth Whitpain Joint Sewer Authority, it's going to be a slight increase. This is for their bond payments. And for the Conshohocken Sewer Authority, we get this directly from them as well. And this is going to be an increase of about $51,000, and this is for their capital projects over at that plant. The transfers going back to the general fund for $416,000. This is what we pay out of the general fund for the sewer department health care, sewer department pension expenses, anything of that nature. This is just to repay the general fund for those expenses. And down below for the internal projects, Ridge Pike Sewer is we're projecting about $1 million expense there. Sewer slip lining project, that is a project that we try to do every year. We try to do $400,000 worth of sewer slip lining. So that is pretty much taking the existing sewer line and, Karen, what is it, replacing the sewer slip lining?
The slip lining?
Yeah, what is it? It's taking the current
Yeah, they don't take the pipe out of the ground.
and they
Yeah,
cover it, or
They clean it and then they line it internally, slip line it, slip lining. We put about $400,000 a year in capital money toward slip lining. There's like 60 miles of underground sewer that the township owns. And that's separate from everybody's lateral, because we're not doing individual laterals, but just the sewers. But they're going neighborhood through neighborhood to get that relined. So most of the older pipes are terracotta. They crack, they break, tree roots go into them, they have joints. These days, they do everything with the Schedule 35 or 40 plastic, thick, white, PVC pipes that don't break or tree roots can't get into, except for joints if they're not tight. But anyway, that's what they're doing with, they go around and do that. Ridge Pike, as they're reconstructing it, they offered the township to be able to replace our sewer in the county road, and we don't have to restore the road. So we had Pannoni do the engineering of what needed to be done and had to move slightly. Aqua's redoing their lines, Pico's redoing their underground, everybody's redoing all the utilities under the road as well. And our portion is, that's the $1 million for the Ridge Pike there.
Plymouth Interceptor Phase 3, that's,
Talked about.
yeah, it was originally 1.7 million, it's coming into about 4.3 million now. As we go further along with that, we'll know how much we can use with, in regards to the grant and what the net would be for the actual expense. Okay. On page 5, it's the 5-year plan. As we mentioned earlier, so we're expecting to have a $3.9 million fund balance beginning of 2025. As you see, the ending fund balances for going through 2029, it gradually increases. This is because we are projecting to increase sewer fees. Again, we have some of the lowest in the county. This will help us with the cash with future projects. For example, the Plymouth Interceptor Phase 3 that came at $4.3 million. Any other projects that come along in the future, we should have a fund balance to make sure we can pay it on our own. And for the most part, going through those 5 years, administration expenses, collection system maintenance, we just increased 3.5% each year. And then, like I said, for the revenues, the current rate just increases 9% each year. If there's no questions, we can go on to page 6. So page 6 is the proposed sewer rate. You can see the difference from 2024 to 2025. The first 7,000 gallons, we want to increase it $65.65 from $60.23. And everything over 7,000 gallons per 1,000 gallons, we want to increase from $4.20 to $4.58. For the well rates, we're going to keep those the same, $84.50. If you look at the box below that, it's just a comparison to the municipalities around us, Whitpain and White Marsh. And the final one is a private sewer company. That is one of our employees' bills that they provided to me. As you can see, they actually get billed monthly, but we're comparing this on a quarterly basis. They would actually pay $350 a quarter. And this person lives in East Norton, so that's just a comparison to what somebody in East Norton would pay as to someone in Plymouth Township would pay per quarter. As you can see, it's a very large increase.
If the bid for the Interceptor comes in much higher than anticipated, will the sewer rate then have to be higher to accommodate?
No, it couldn't for that year.
Yeah, we would
We'd
have
have
to-
to pass another
yeah.
ordinance. I mean, you could pass a second ordinance mid-year if you wanted to, but if it comes in much higher, we're going to have to try to take the capital from somewhere else. Yeah, you won't have time to gather that kind of money in sewer bill rents from such low rates. You know what I mean? It would take decades to get that kind of money, millions of dollars. Right?
Now, is it possible to push it back a year? Where do we at?
It's already been pushed back. I mean, we
Oh,
should.
yeah, I know.
Yeah, it should have been done before. So I will say, if they start building those, South Payon's 80 new houses just came on board, that sewage goes through the Plymouth Interceptor. If the mall, Keystone and the Preet both, put the 450, it has to be done for those too. I mean, all that sewage is coming through this.
Well, I know it can't be put off another year.
It's a small pipe that goes under the railroad. It's from 1959. It needs to be fixed. It needs to be made larger. There's too much flow down there.
Yeah, if it does come in more, we would probably have to take out more money from the general fund.
Take it from somewhere else.
Yeah, we would have to find it from somewhere else. We do have a little bit of reserve left in the general fund.
A little bit, like you'll see, it's projected to come from 15 million down to 5,
$5
which
million,
doesn't
yeah.
make us comfortable at all.
No.
So, yeah.
But, you know, it's just a perfect storm, all the major projects that we have to do are coming next year, so after that, we should, not be in smooth sailing, but we should be able to start increasing our balance again,
Hopefully,
hopefully.
nothing else happens.
And then if you do look back into, I forget what page it was, if it's 5 or page 5, the previous page, you do see that afterwards, after this year, the ending fund balance, we are projecting it to increase more. So that amount too, you know, will help pay back our general fund balance as well, if we do have to use funds from the general fund to pay for it, the Interceptor project. So that's a good thing to see. And then, of course, we would also have to raise the sewer rates as well. But we're also projecting to do that as well for the next 5 years.
Well, we do have, which year is it that the Conshohocken Authority has a very large sewer payment due for capital?
2028,
28?
the 890,000.
Yes. Yes, okay, yeah, that's on page 5. Yes, almost $1 million, 890.
And the next year, it's only $7,000, so
Yeah,
they're all, yeah, it's,
they try to smooth it, but when they're replacing these RBCs, these rotating biological contactors, they just can't smooth it. I mean, that's how much they cost, so that they're putting that project off till then. But that'll be a big bill when it comes through.
And Karen, when will we know exactly where the bids come in on this, whether it's 4.3 or something else?
What's that? When will we know?
Yeah, like-
Well, we didn't put it back out to bid yet, but we need to. Having just gotten that grant,
Yep.
and Karen, I'll walk you through signing it if you still.
Okay, thank you, yes, I need to do that.
Yeah, yeah, I mean, you really don't know until you put it back out to bid.
But I mean, typically, like, what does that look like? Like, if we put it out and we wait 30 days, 60 days?
30, generally, yeah. Yeah, 30 days, 25, 30 days. And then you set the date you want to open the bids, and, you know, open electronically. We use a system, we use PenBid for that. So, yeah, and then you kind of vet, you know, you have to look at the low bidder, if they're responsible. You go with the low bidder. And then you wait for the next council meeting and award the bid and give them a notice to proceed. And it usually takes about 2 weeks for contracts, bonds, insurance certificates and everything to be signed and, you know, the contracts to be, like say, signed. And then, you know, notice to proceed and they would get started. I mean, at this point, probably looking at the springtime, if the ground freezes this winter, you know, they would probably wait till the spring, but it would probably it'll take a couple months, you know, between getting it out there. And so much work was done the first time we put it out to bid. There were easements from like Norfolk Southern Railroad, PennDOT, Pennsylvania Turnpike, like the Metroplex, whoever owns the parcel right back there. Everything was in place, you know, to put it out to bid, and we did that. And I would hate for that to all expire and lose all that work, you know. Not to mention that this sewer pipe just has to be made larger under there. That's just a for sure, that's a given. But, yeah, so we should probably do that soon. Now that we got the grant, just like last week, I think I should, with your approval, but I should probably be back in touch with Alan Mason, or he should, you know, we can talk to him and see when we can get this back together and put it out.
And we don't have the grant shown currently, so the whole entire net for the
Got it.
project is 4.3. That's what's shown in here. So hopefully it comes out better. Hopefully we can bring it down to.
This is your estimation of what it's going to be, and assuming we get no grant.
Close.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that the project increases actually. So this is like the net, the 4.3. I mean, it went from 1.7 to 4.3. Who knows what it's going to be the next time?
And
it's
the
out.
high was over 6.
Yeah, so it's.
It had several bids. This kind of work, yeah, generally you will get several contractors bidding on this type of work. Several companies that we've worked with in the past here, and the one who's Wexcon, who's doing Ridge Pike, has worked in Plymouth too, other jobs. There's a couple large players that will definitely, they'll bid on it, but just don't know how much it will cost.
Okay, so does anyone have any question on the sewer fund?
I mean, it really doesn't seem like there's much that's discretionary, with the exception of the rates. Right, I mean, the work is not discretionary, what we contribute to the shared resources, I mean, none of it is really discretionary.
No. No, I mean, fees to the two plants that process, not negotiable. I mean, I would not recommend stopping the sewer slip lining. We've done it for several years now, and I think even at only $400,000 a year, I think Chris would tell us, I don't know if that was the,
But we were doing 200.
yes, so we doubled it to 400. And I forget whether it was a 20-year project that went down to 10, or if it, or if it's now 20, I forget.
I think
which.
it's now 20.
You think it's now
Actually,
20?
yeah, I think that's what it
Okay,
is.
it's now
yeah.
20. So, but he's been doing it for a few years. We have a few years under our belts. And then that red zone robotic plan that they did, we had the whole sewer system televised, and it could tell whether the pipe was broken in front of your house or your house or mine. It was really an incredible tool with the GIS. You would love to probably see that red zone thing. But it helped Chris determine what neighborhoods to go into first, and that's what they use each year to decide. I think this past year they were in Plymouth Hills, across from the mall, and but they've been in the Sheffield neighborhoods. They've been in different neighborhoods, and that this whole big survey that was done with a robot that literally looked like a little bullet, and it ran through our sewers for like I don't know how many months, and televised everything and told them exactly where the breaks were in the cracks, and if a piece was actually missing, because sometimes the pipe cracks and falls into the rest of the pipe. But anyway, that tool's very handy, and now we're using it to replace all the broken and cracked pipes.
Thanks.
And again, I wouldn't stop doing that. It needs to be done. Because otherwise you get a lot of the, I&I inflow and infiltration. Water, stormwater gets into your sewer pipes, and then you're treating it at the sewer plant, and that's no good.
It also seems like the risk of not keeping up with it is, potentially catastrophic.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Then we'll go on the next page. Page 9 is the debt service. So you can see each year it's going to be about $1,050,000 for our debt service. These are to pay off our two bonds that we took out in 21, 22, both for the township building. So statement are for the debt service, this is what we have to pay each year. And negotiating it, this is what we're going to be paying. And this is pretty much what we will be paying for the next 25, 26 years as well.
Excuse me.
For sewer?
No, this was for the building. This is the only debt we have. This is for the debt. We had a moment before we did renovation of this building. The last debt we had was in.
Yes. So next page, page 10, starts our capital projects. This is our main capital fund, the capital reserve fund. Some of the main projects that we're going to be doing next year is obviously the $3.6 million for the firehouse, $300,000 for annual street paving. Next year will be coming out of the capital reserve fund. Every other year it gets taken out of our highway aid fund. Sanitation is going to be asking for 2 trash trucks, one from the 2023 budget and one from this budget, with going over $200,000 each.
They've ordered the 2023 trash truck. It just hasn't been delivered or paid for yet. So
Yeah,
that's why it's still here, because we never paid for it yet.
That's the same with the swap loader thing too.
No, we only use it. No, that's total. We don't use.
Oh, no, that's fine. If you guys just want to take a quick look at this projects for 2025. Anything outside of 2025, yeah, it's obviously subject to change. It could be pushed back a year. Some of these projects have been on this list for 3 or 4 years, just keep getting pushed back. It's really whatever we can afford that year. We'll do that. We'll do that work for it then.
And there are some of these projects, like you say, some we push, but the Shasta Road, we have gone in and done pieces of that. So, let's say, so we would push it out if we can. If something happens in the meantime, we may have to pull it back into this year, you know. So that's an old storm pipe that was, used to have a swale behind all the houses, and then one year, 70s or 80s, they decided wouldn't it be better to pipe that and put dirt on top and we'll have a more usable backyard. So they buried the pipe. Now, 40 years later, the bottom of the pipe has rusted out. So the sides start to bend, you know, and then it looks like a collapse, looks like a sinkhole, but it's really only to the bottom of the pipe. And then we get the contractor out there and he'll kind of shotcrete it and fix it up again, a section of it. But, you know, and probably doing it like piecemeal as needed. But, you know, that's a long pipe, and someday, at this rate, it'll probably just get repaired piece by piece by piece and shotcreted as it goes, as opposed to digging it all up and putting a new pipe in. I mean, if we were to dig it back up, the best thing to do would be create the big swale again. Leave it open channel. People wouldn't be happy, but that would be the best way to do it. Meanwhile, it's $500,000.
The trash truck body replacement, that's something, so for each trash truck, you can pretty much get 2 bodies out of 1 chassis, so that's something Chris has been doing, is just replacing the body to keep the chassis, cut the cost for that. Those are the big expenses for that 2025 capital project budget. Questions?
So we don't see the pool doesn't appear in here.
That would be the community center capital budget.
Getting there.
Okay.
Yeah, that's going to be on.
This coming.
That's going to be on the all project.
Okay.
So page 11, these are 3 of the smaller capital funds that we have. Act 209 Area 1 and 2, and the stormwater outfall. Not a whole lot happens in these accounts unless there's a project that is out there that we absolutely have to do. For Act 209 Area 1, 2 years ago, we gave $1.5 million for the jug handle and ridge pike removal.
Of that jug handle.
Other than that, there's not really too many projects that come out of these. We just put a budget in for a certain amount just in case anything comes up, so that we have something to spend.
Yeah, these are restricted funds. You must use them on these topics, and the Act 209. There's 2 service areas, and they each have their own specific list of traffic improvements that you can only use for those things. And if you want to add something to the list, you have to go through a big, long amendment to your Act 209 plan. It's a big deal, but we've done it like twice since we actually initiated. Since we first got the Act 209 in place here. We've had, I think, two amendments to it. When you finish the jobs on the list, then you try to get a new list of things.
So page 12 is the parks budget, open space budget. We already went over this the first meeting, but if you guys wanted to just take another look at it, again, the big expense for this year, or I'm sorry, for 2025 is going to be the dugout replacement for fields 1, 2, and 4, and also the upper and lower field renovation at the community center park.
I was trying to remember, Kellen, on the dugout, I thought there was like 40,000 a year, not all in.
No, so there was 40,000 a year in 2026, but that was taken out. It should have just been all included in the 2025 number.
Well, remember Rick said if you do it all at once, you won't have
Oh, yeah.
mobilization fees and things like that.
Oh,
It's
okay.
cheaper, it's kind of like volume, right? Do three at
Thank
one
you.
time.
Yeah.
It'll be cheaper than if you put it out 3 different bids, 3 different times,
Okay.
and that's what he
I was
thought.
remembering the $40,000.
Yeah,
You were right, you were.
A little easier to swallow than 100,000.
Yes.
But now I remember
Remember
that.
that? And then between, and I guess at some point, the Little League had their presentation too, as far as wanting, some of the things that they were looking for. So, whether this money gets, if Rick just moves ahead with this, before them or after them or in conjunction with them, there was some discussion of how that would work.
Because they had an integrated plan, but Rick would have to do it differently if he was just doing the dugouts versus kind of how they wanted to integrate it all. How does that?
Well, I mean, I remember that, listening to that meeting, there was a question whether, yes, if they were in charge of the improvements, that whether or not the township would give them the 100,000, they would get all the dugouts done at the same time with the same contractor, and it would all look alike and, be the same and be what they wanted and all of that. But I don't know. I haven't heard much more about the Little League's request since that night they were here, so I don't know.
Didn't they do something at Parks and Rec, though?
Yes. Yeah, that's,
Parks Board.
yes, and I have it. Do y'all have all that paperwork from them, or is that just something I got at the?
Oh, it's going to be in here.
The contributions they're asking for?
Yeah.
Well, and their balance sheets. And
Yeah.
their-
That's all in
it's
there.
Financials.
It's
Yeah.
coming up,
okay,
yeah.
it's coming up.
But is that possible, just to give an organization that amount of money for?
Well, we own the park, and it's our infrastructure, but I'm not quite sure what that relationship has always been between the fact that, the township owns the land, the township mows the grass, we got a grant and redid the concession stand, and yet they run, they run the concession stand, and they, I don't know, they get to use it for so many months out of the year, and then it turns over to football, and then they use it for so many months out of the year, and not quite sure what the dynamic is there, but, as long as it went into the park's infrastructure, I don't see what the problem would be, but it could be a Mike question, I don't know.
I think it is, yeah, I just
Yeah.
wonder about being able.
Township has a
legally being
responsible
able to do
contract.
something, how,
With So I don't know. I guess they can do what they would want with theirs. Maybe Rick would just have to do his project separately under our ordinances.
But even if we say they could do what they want, they really can't without our approval, right? It is, at the end of the day, it's still our property. So don't they, at the very least, coordinate with us, like, hey, this is what we'd like to do, or we're planning to do?
I would think they would, I would like to think that they do. So that, like the building, I wouldn't take the building down, but I think Rick or Phil told me maybe they put it up. So they've made improvements to the park. They put the batting cages in. The township didn't spend a penny on that. So they've made improvements to the park that I suppose they own. But, I'm not quite sure what that relationship is.
Who would know?
Phil and Rick,
Phil and Rick.
they know a lot about what the Little League has and has not provided in that park. And the football, too. I think the football might own their press box, their two-story building that they have over there. I'm not so sure how that all works.
It's interesting because so many different organizations use that park.
Yeah, and You know, so we've heard through the years, a lot of different presidents of that Little League, and probably Spartans too, and they change and everything, and then the new group comes in and they want to do something different than the last group wants to do. And then a couple of years, you know, your kids grow up and they're not in there anymore, and you move on to the next level of whatever sports, and then the kids are, you know, then you get a new group, and then they want to do something different. So, you know, a lot has happened through the years down there, and I know Rick wants to replace the dugouts. He says they need to be replaced.
Yeah, something
Yeah,
safer
I mean,
and more
they're
open.
bad.
Yeah, it's been a long time since I've been down
Yeah,
there.
with the dugouts.
Spent a lot of time in that park, but it's been a while. But yeah, I think they have some concrete roofs on those dugouts that are.
I think they're all concrete.
And
Yeah.
they need to be taken apart. They could be
Also concrete enclosed.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, there's no
sort of a
visibility.
spot
Yeah.
for trouble in the evenings when there's nobody playing there, but there's kids hanging out there. Okay.
Yeah, so for the funding of this, these are funded by impact fees that developers have to pay. Anything that comes for those impact fees go towards the open space, which are these projects. Because if they don't want to pay an impact fee, they have to, what's the option? Dedicate land, yeah.
In lieu of, but we wouldn't accept it unless it's adjacent to a current park or something we wanted, or it just ends up another basin that we have to.
So page 13, this shows all the capital projects together. The first page, or this first area, we just went over. So if you go to page 14, that begins with, that also shows the community center capital projects. And then we did go over sewer projects, so this is just a combination of all of them together. For 2025, we're projecting to have $14.9 million in capital expenditures. And that's the big reason why, when you look at the general fund balance, you see it coming down about $10 million, is because we were funding a lot of these projects through the general fund.
Swimming pool pump.
Anybody have any questions on all of the capital projects? I think we went over most of these before.
So obviously, it's a lot of capital projects, probably too many, but some, you know, are, some of these are probably optional and some are not. So.
Some get moved to next year.
Some get pushed
yeah.
into the next year, yeah.
Like the pool.
Well,
Is this a good point, like to discuss what might be optional or movable or discretionary versus like a must-do?
you could, yeah, I mean, if you want to, you can. I know at the end, I have a list of some things that are in the budget that I think Helen and I both recommended that not be included, or, you know.
I mean, I don't want to jump in. If you're taking us there, Karen, that's fine. I don't want to jump in.
We're taking you there.
But if you do see any projects that you think you need that.
But yeah, I mean, it's your meeting, and you're welcome to ask and, you know, see if you want to push any of these out. I mean, I mean, just like an example, we've talked before about like pushing out. Well, we did this one year. John will remember, during the recession of like 07, 08, we pushed out purchasing new police vehicles. And then a couple, within 2-3 years, we're like, oh my gosh, like we need like 8 instead of 3 a year. So that was something that didn't make sense to push out. At the time, I guess we had to, whatever, but that's what would happen if you pushed out street paving. You could say we don't have to pave some streets every year, but we do because then on a cycle, like every street gets repaved, it's either every 20 to 25 years. And all of our streets are always in really good shape, and so we don't skip or skimp on that. And same with the sewer lining. Like Council said, we started doing $200,000 a year. Could we do that? We could. But again, you would never get that done. You know what I mean?
With a trash truck, you don't know when you can actually replace it, then it could take a couple of years.
So, yeah, say the 2025 truck, I mean, I guess you would like to order it. The reality is you won't pay for it in 2025. You still need to pay for the 23. You know, but it's like one of, so that, I mean, that's something you could keep in, but know that you're not really going to pay for it because they're not going to be able to deliver it. I'd have to ask Chris if the mechanics truck could push out another year. I don't know. And again, I don't even know if you order that now, if it comes in 2026 anyway, But certainly the trash trucks won't be there. Firehouse is not negotiable. That project is underway. So like fencing at Public Works, the 25,000, that could push out. Same for the the parking lot paving for codes and police, I would say, Chris always piggybacks onto the annual paving and gets a good deal, again, for volume and mobilization, and, I'd probably leave that one in. The next two, the locker rooms, I don't know if they could push another year if they had to, I don't know. I'm not sure where the ADA ramps are. Are they just throughout town? Kellen?
I'll check with Rick. That was something we added in.
Okay, August budget? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then the last one is the Parks truck. Yeah, there's not a lot on that page that is negotiable, but, yeah, I mean, big company, I know we've talked about that, is just putting it out to bid. It is out to bid, because all the engineering was done, and you don't know how much it's really going to cost to put it out to bid. So if it comes in, hey, if that's at 3 or 4 million, that's probably much easier to push off or reject than if it comes in at 1 million or 1.5. You might say,
Doesn't surprise.
Yeah.
yeah, you might get it. Yeah, you don't know. The pool feature, to me, you could easily, skip that. That's just to.
Yeah, so those are like
The fun things that are in the middle of the pool, like the mushroom or whatever.
Yeah.
That's pretty much, those numbers below the building or the pool pump room,
Could all be-
they're at an as-need basis. So if they have to spend it, they will. They just have a number in there, Leslie, a placeholder, in case they have to spend it.
But not the pool, not the feature.
Not the pool pump room.
Not the pool pump room, but.
But anything else you see going down for the most part. In the first packet, there's more of a breakdown of it. A lot of those can be, are just
Just
there
in
in
case.
case they have to spend that money.
Like the HVAC unit. Now, if that breaks, they have to fix it, obviously.
Wouldn't that be more than $12,000?
These are the numbers that Rick gives us. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe some things are fixable versus.
I think these are for minor
Just to have,
Yeah, these are your
Just to have a
minor
budget
fixes.
for repairs and fixes.
Yes.
I mean, their HVAC units are.
Yeah.
they're-
I think it's the same, and I think it's the same
Yeah.
thing, Kellen, that you said,
Yeah.
like, just because like it's in here as under like fitness center equipment, if that's not breaking, but the HVAC has something big where it's costing like 20, you can.
Yeah, we can give or take from each one.
They'll have to have air and heat, obviously. They don't have to have a new treadmill, if that's what, you're talking about. The dugouts, they think are important. Could the volleyball court wait? Sure, I would think. And the soccer field is, the upper and lower soccer fields at Community Center Park, Rick even said people won't like that idea because that would be a whole season too,
Yeah.
spring and a whole year where they're not allowed to use the fields if you were to overseed them and work on them.
But they have to be done together, he said, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Did he say they had to be done like now? I can't remember.
Would like them to
I think he
be.
wants them done, but.
They're getting thin.
Yeah.
That was the one where he's talking about the head.
Sprinkler
heads
heads,
getting lopped
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have to be done because some of them have broken.
And then the water just comes out like a fire
Flooding
hose
some
instead of
areas,
just a sprinkler.
Watering others, and it's.
Bill is so astronomical.
There's also one of those ones where it's cheaper to do it.
Should be staying green then.
Oh, it is very green. Have you seen it?
We have,
Yeah, soccer field?
we have big portable ones we gotta pull out of work. Something in green.
They're beautiful.
It's kind of sticky because like, you don't want to say push things off that make us irresponsible, like we're not taking care of things we should take care of, or pushing something off that's going to cost us 3 times as much 18 months from now. But like, I mean, I'm just trying to understand where there's truly something that might be more discretionary, like we can push it off without much risk.
Right.
And I'm not seeing a lot of those,
I think the
unfortunately.
field renovation can't be pushed off.
Some of
Was
them.
my sense of it.
Yeah.
It's because of the flooding and all they're getting.
Like
I mean,
nothing.
even the little things help. Like, I know it's only 25,000, but the volleyball courts, they
Yeah.
probably don't really need to do.
The sewer items, you know,
Yeah.
you have to
That-
do.
Yeah, those just seem like
Yeah,
no-brainers,
right.
like that's,
First two, you owe that money to those
Yeah.
sewer treatment plants, and the second has to be done. Ridge Pike is already under construction, so they'll be asking for that money soon. And the slip lining is certainly really valuable to keep up with.
yeah, and that's where it doesn't make sense, like there's some things that just make sense to take care of them as we go, to do good maintenance along the way, that just seems responsible, like fiscally responsible. So, okay, right on.
But the bright side is, the next 5 years, you see how much total is projected to be spent.
Bring that a bright side, Kevin.
Yes, yes.
I mean, it really is just the perfect storm of all of them,
Try to do something good.
Yeah.
all of
Happening at the
we
same
can't
time.
move these,
Yeah.
all coming in the same year.
So I guess the next is just, next page is the draft for the sewer increase. Or is that just in the
Yeah, I guess since we just finished the sewer fund, that's why we put that next. So, just need council's approval to raise the sewer rates by 9%. Because this ordinance would have to, like, literally go in the paper tomorrow. So you can act on it in December, and it can be effective in the first sewer billings of 2025.
I mean, it seems like
Yeah,
we're
it seems like we have to,
We
right?
have to, and it seems like
Yeah.
we're still much lower than most.
Yeah.
I mean,
Just
Not lower than whitewash.
And even as we increase them, the other municipalities have to increase them as well, for the most part, so
Yeah,
always gonna be lower, hopefully.
right.
I mean, I like the idea of keeping ours lower than.
I agree.
And still be lower revenue, just some, generate a little more revenue.
And I don't think we get too many complaints about the increases.
Because I think for the most part, we do try to keep them consistent.
Yeah, and it's very minimal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just mentally.
Well, you guys would know.
So I'm just trying to think, could we get a motion on that, Karen, and a vote?
Right now?
Yes.
Sure.
Please.
Yeah, I make a motion that we adopt this ordinance to increase the sewer rate. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second by, I'll give it to Mr. Whitney tonight.
It's all good.
All right, so any more discussion about this? By council? All right, we'll take a vote. Mr. Whitney?
In favor.
Ms. Leonard?
In favor.
Mr. Nelson?
In favor.
Ms. Vizio?
In favor.
And the chair votes in favor.
That's it.
What's that? Oh, okay. Okay, so then the next page is proposed capital expenditures. All this is just the page we pretty much looked at, but it adds in the police vehicles in it, since they would be considered a fixed asset for this, given that they each about $80,000.
5T storage.
Yeah, that's what that needs to be done.
Is it just a single?
Yeah.
Got it.
Really, pretty much the same exact page as you've seen before. Yeah, it's just the police area.
50-something, 7.
Was it 57 or 50? Are you 54, Kellen, 54?
Yeah, this one. The only change is right there, the police.
Okay.
That's the only addition to it. And that's because that would be something we would ask to add to our fixed asset list. resolutions then?
Yeah,
Is that it?
I think that's next.
Okay. So then the next page, the 11-055, payments to the fire and the ambulance. The first page is, in that packet, is their request. The second page is what we proposed to give them. And then the third page is actually, since we're going to be taking out for the loan payback, the actual contribution is just how I figured out the net contribution itself. So I wasn't aware that the ambulance was going to be asking for $140,000. So our normal operating contribution to them is $70,000.
Wait, where are
They're
they?
at the bottom. If you want to start
They're at the bottom.
Oh,
Yeah.
bottom. Okay,
Sorry.
That's okay, thank you.
Gasoline and the bill for the balance, because they usually
So,
finish that by
Helen, 100,000 is typically what we would contribute.
Total, yeah, the contribution would be 70, and then we provide them $30,000 worth of gasoline.
So are they asking for another 70?
Another 140.
140,
240.
They're asking what we would normally give, say, on top of what they
I think that's the first time they've asked for a car.
240.
It is the first time they've asked for a car. There were a couple of years where they asked for either the Plymovent system or something. They had a specific ask, or a couple of years where they had this plus something else. And it might have been that system that takes the exhaust, out of the building when you start the vehicle up inside the building. That might have been one. I think one year it had something to do with, I'm trying to think, some special gear that they wanted. And council gave them their normal appropriation plus, something extra. It's been done before, but it hasn't been done in a couple of years, because you don't recall it at all for the last couple of years. It was the standard. Yeah. So, I'm sure they'd be happy for anything additional, and they're happy for this, so, I know you just heard that, we all just heard that for the first time.
Yeah.
Tonight, but,
So it'd be 240,000.
yeah.
So on the sheet that he shared with us tonight said, I think township contributions were 150,000.
So we give
That's
70,000 of that.
all the townships together.
Yeah, so we're giving 100 out of 150?
We're giving 70.
Well, 70 plus 30.
Yeah, it's really, we're giving 70 $70,000 directly to them, and then we're providing them the gasoline.
Oh, okay,
So
so,
the direct contribution 70.
but we're still covering
Yeah,
half
we
of
are
everything
covering.
they get from all the townships, other municipalities they support.
Yep.
We give half of that one.
Yeah, that's,
Generally.
yes, that's what I was getting at. Yeah.
It used to be we were the only ones giving, but I guess they've done better work trying to get these other townships to give them some assistance.
I mean, I'm glad we're contributing and providing support, but it's a necessary service, but it seems like other municipalities could step up a little bit.
Yes.
It's ironic, right?
Agree.
One of the townships with the lowest tax rate tend to contribute some of the most.
Yeah.
Same thing happens when we get to sports, too,
Yeah.
and community organizations.
I mean, I'm appreciative of their service, and I don't want to take it out on them, well, we're not going to contribute because others don't, but it just would be nice if others stepped up.
Yeah, I
They're
agree.
providing services in a lot of areas, and other municipalities
I
aren't
wonder why the
contributing.
county doesn't provide anything. I mean, we service county residents.
Yeah.
Like, it's not in the budget.
So, just tell you what we proposed here, starting with that last sheet. We proposed a 5% increase for both Plymouth and Harmonville for their operating contributions. We what did we do with the capital?
Kept it the same.
Kept it the same at 115,000. That was the one that used to be 100,000 a year, and now 115,000. Last year also, or one, yeah,
Yep.
this would be the second year in a row. And then you can see on that last sheet, so Harmonville has a $3.5 million loan, so this is interest-free over 30 years. So they're going to take their 1/30 of their payment back out, and so then their net would be the $435,402. Plymouth Fire Company is also getting a $250,000 loan, 10 years interest-free over 10 years, so that would be $25,000 subtracted from theirs. So that's why they're coming up negative, but that's with the loan payments. But it's really with a 5% increase from last year.
Yeah.
What do you think about that? That's what we've presented, and that's what's in the draft, the draft budget. Asks. Yeah, so that $3.5 million, the project will probably take a year and a half to build. So that's going to go into 25 and 26.
Late 26, probably.
Done.
Right.
Maybe finished. So some of that will be, the bills will start flowing through here. The township had to be the applicant. They got an RACP grant, but the township, because they don't own the land, the township has to be the applicant and then the co-applicant. Did get a waiver from the RCO, so that part is good when they do go out to bid. Hopefully get some good pricing. And it all won't be due in 2025 because it's as they get paid as they go. So that'll help a little too, but.
Kellen, I know Plymouth Fire Company was asking for an additional full-time firefighter. That's not here though, right? I mean,
No.
No.
These are operating in capital. That's still outside this.
Well, that's everything.
This is.
So, yeah, so, I mean, typically and traditionally what council has done, you can do whatever you want, but, you give the fire services the money, and then they can prepare their budgets accordingly. They can hire, additional
I see.
career personnel if they feel they have the money, kind of a thing, and
Okay.
or you could increase this if you want to give more assistance toward that effort, but that's,
But that
we don't say, here's money and you have to hire a person with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're not highlighting that as there was this request and we're providing funding for that. We're providing funding and you use it as you see fit.
Allocations.
Is that folded into these amounts?
that's right.
It is.
Fire company, there's 3 stations in the
Well,
Yes, so they can use it however they want.
No,
But
specifically the amount for the full-time.
per station.
Include that.
No, we
With
didn't do that.
overall
5% over last year.
We do 6 a.m. to 5
So
p.m.
like what John is saying down here is, they hire a fourth individual just with their own money. Part of the operating money you give them. Well, all 4 come out of that, really, right?
Yeah, all 4 come
All
out of
4
it.
come out of it. When you wanted the extra, you found it within that.
The extra 2.
The extra 2, yeah.
Extra 2. So,
that makes sense. Thank you. I knew that was a specific request, so I just didn't know
Yeah.
where.
It's not, and for you being new, that's not the first time that specific request has been made. But like I said, traditionally, council will give additional money, some 5%, some number, and then within that, they can do, they'll pay all their bills. They have,
That makes sense.
Yeah.
they have salaries, they have some other benefits and insurances, they have lights and water and all kinds of your regular stuff that you would have.
And we take care of their health care.
We take care
Of
of
the full-timers.
Township pays the healthcare.
It's at you guys.
What else? It tells you, what else? Some of the services, in addition to monetary, Township provides the fire companies and the ambulance with other goods, including gasoline. So these guys get all their fuel, whereas the ambulance only get $30,000 toward it. And they're out of that by like January, February, probably February. They've gone through $30,000 worth of gas. The ambulance has.
Constantly.
Wow,
going.
so in like 2 months of the year?
That's crazy.
Yes, and they pay for the rest.
Remember, that's what they said, they have their flow that moves around as they need it. Like if somebody's responding to a call, they send one of the trucks over whether or not it needs to move.
I'm sure the
So it's there to be
Norristown
ready.
ones probably fill up back here versus not the Schwenksville ones.
Oh, they all do, yeah.
They all do, but if there's anything down here, it's gonna come back here. Because it's tax, they can get it without the tax. Way cheaper. Other insurances, we take care of the volunteer workers' comp insurances, phones, grass cutting, snow plowing, et cetera, some stuff like that. So there's a little bit more in-kind services as well as what the dollars are here.
Thank you, Karen, that's helpful.
If you wanted to add anything, we could also increase the fire service fee. We weren't proposing to increase it, but it's a possibility.
What does that come out of? Like, where would I pay for that?
It's your regular
Tax bill.
taxes.
It's in my
It's
tax
just
bill.
broken out,
Separate
yeah.
line.
It's a
Separate line on the
line.
tax bill.
And it goes to the stipends for the
It
volunteers.
goes to any of their things.
Is it
The operating
maxed yet, Karen?
Capital.
Is it maxed yet?
What's next, 3?
I thought it was 5.
Okay. It's at
My memory serves me.
0.853.
853 now.
Yeah. I know. Just
So-
trouble, but
I know.
So the message that you read tonight, Karen, was this, the proposed is the same as the current? It doesn't represent an increase?
Not in the fire service fee, no. It does include a tenth of a mil in real estate.
Yep.
Nothing increased for fire service.
Okay.
And that, that did about doing that, tell you what your increase to the homeowners would be. And businesses.
Yeah.
That was on there. I mean, I know you're struggling, but
Yeah, no, I mean,
I
think we worked
You
hard
have
to
to
try
raise
and-
taxes.
Yeah, I think we worked hard to try and
provide
keep
more
the increases low,
You guys are worth it, but you have to raise taxes to
Yeah.
provide more services.
and we're providing good services. I mean, we
Yeah.
need to make sure that we can continue to provide good services, and people who are providing services have the equipment that they need and the resources that they need.
I mean, I think everybody's aware that everything's more expensive, so that's affecting the township just as much as it's affecting them.
And we have a large number of people on fixed incomes, so it's
Right.
it's hard.
I know.
It's a balance always. What do you think, a tenth of a half, like a fifth of 0.05? What would I do? I don't know.
What would it do, like, for
I'm just saying, I
the
could.
total income, but then what would it cost a resident?
It would honestly,
I'm more concerned with the.
if you go from
Yeah.
0.835 to, you say a half mil or
Not half, no, a 0.05.
so to point,
Half of a tenth.
so 0.84. It would only be,
Is it 0.835?
the 8.84 would be just $1 extra.
Per person.
Yeah.
How much dollars would it generate? Nothing. Not much, sorry.
About $9,000.
9,000.
That's it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's something that the
Yeah.
businesses would pay as well as residents.
Sorry?
$9,000 it could generate. That's a small percent.
Very small.
Yeah.
$5,000 that we didn't have, though.
True.
Yeah, I mean, it's something. What has our history been increasing the fire services fee? Like, is that something we do rarely, most years?
Gosh, what year did that start?
It's been around for probably 10, 15
years? I was gonna
years,
say
somewhere in that margin there. There's been slight increases in the history of it, but that's really, and the ordinance is, if I'm correct, the ordinance written that all that fees have to go to the fire services.
Oh, yes, for sure.
So, you
Well,
know.
emergency services.
Emergency, yes.
Yeah, so-
So between us and the ambulance.
And technically police, but
But I thought
but
it's
it really
labeled,
much does go towards you
I
guys.
thought it's labeled on the taxes, it's a fire
It says fire,
assessment.
it says fire service fee is what it says. And you have to pay, it's a tax, you have to pay it, you can't not pay it.
I mean, through the history, there's been slight increases throughout the time, but.
I think it might have started at
Yeah,
.5
I
or
believe there-
.6.
Last year there was one.
Yeah. It started at, about, like, I think initially about .5 or
Yeah,
.6.
0.5, I believe it started, and then it's been like little increases
Yeah, maybe
every once in a
10.
while.
Last year we went from .72 to .835.
Okay. So it was over a tenth of a mil last year.
I mean, are we opposed to,
That .05 would only change it from $18 taxes more per year to $19.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
Like,
so if we had, a-
if we're gonna be counting dollars anywhere, like, is that too much to ask? I don't think it is. Even though it only gets 9,000 here, gotta find it somewhere.
yeah. So last year, Kelly, you said we went from .7 to .83.
835, yep.
3.5.
0.35. I mean, it seems like doing something small, like very small and moderate is not outrageous and still helpful as we're trying to manage a budget with a lot of increases and capital expenses in it.
Huge capital expenses.
Yeah, I mean, we're not gonna come close to making it up, but I mean, we gotta start somewhere, right? I mean,
Yeah.
cutting a few things where we can.
You're faster than this, man.
What am I looking for?
Well, we did.
I think we should.
Yeah, it took-
Yeah, I mean,
I think we should.
it's so small. and
6%.
And it goes back to the necessity of things that we have to make sure that we have.
Yeah, like fire service. And residents
Pay fire services fee, also businesses?
I'm sorry, yes, businesses pay too.
Businesses pay it too. Okay, so it's not just the fixed income people.
Just 6% increase here.
From what we paid each of them last year.
So the net then, we're talking about here, on the back.
I mean, does that seem ridiculous?
Yeah. Yeah, the net before the
Or you put the
state you have to pay.
$9,000 and split it between, or is that like?
Go up
you
to
control
five-
it?
it'd probably be about
$5,000
$5,000.
to that fund, and that's there for theirs, for them to
I think
be
we
able to-
can, yeah, I think we probably have.
And this is about
Well, the thing about
4,000, yeah.
real estate is that it impacts residents and businesses if you increase other stuff.
To combine that with another percent.
But this
No, we're talking about the $9,000 that comes from increasing the fire services fee.
Yeah,
Where are
that
we
one.
sending the 9,000?
I think it's just,
No.
is it just the?
Yeah, does it
Yes.
just go, it needs to go to
Yeah,
them, but do we
doesn't that
decide
get, like,
how it gets
dispersed?
split, or?
If they each got a 6% increase, would that equal the one?
That would be to have a tenth, yeah. Half be.
What kind of magic are you working there, Kellen?
Not doing any magic.
Well, we're just trying to figure out, like, if you were to say to give a 6% increase to each one instead of 5, you know,
How much would you have to increase the fire services fee to get to a 6%? Is that what you're figuring out?
It would be that point, it would be $10,000, so it would be .05, which would be the .84. Raise it from,
So essentially exactly what we just said. Would work. Right?
close, 8,000.
closer to the ballpark.
So, I'm sorry, Kellen, how does that work out?
If you raise it .05, it would increase, you would increase revenue about $8,300.
Yeah, what happened to our 9 Ken? what if our goal was to increase it 10K?
I agree.
And that's probably gonna be, what, $1.50 a person?
Right, $1, yeah.
Probably not, yeah, about $1.50, I would say.
So from $18 to $19.
Perfect.
I have that fifth of a mil.
0.06.
0.006.
0.006, I'm sorry, yes. So instead of 8.840, it's 0.841. Now I give you $10,000.
So increase the millage to
So 0.841 creates another 10K.
Yep.
And the impact to a person is $1.50.
Probably $1.50, yeah, less than $2.
Yeah, you good with that?
So we're going to do 6% then. So we're giving.
I don't think it takes more than that much money.
Very tough.
The real estate tax in here, that is an increase, right?
Yeah,
What was it before the millage?
so the millage before was 0.1957 for just the real estate.
It's going up to 2.05.
Oh. It was,
That went up 0.1, yeah, so that generated 161,000.
Percent increase is going to need.
Well, I thought we were going from 5% to 6%.
57.
Well, I'm just doing 6% total from this year.
oh, yeah.
These two numbers add together. And multiplying by
I
1.06.
thought you just wanted what the difference was from going 5% to 6%.
Increasing average household.
Taking these two numbers from just this
Yeah, but
year
the
and
deal
using
is-
6% instead of 5%, I'm just going to 6.
I just like wanted to go
It's gonna be
5% to 6%.
Congratulations.
That's why I thought, that's why I was wondering why you, that's why I was wondering why you.
I work for Lower Mary.
What the difference was from.
No, because if you add the current rate,
Cutting through
the
there.
current rate
To our shop right there on Woodlawn.
is this.
Another 11.
These two numbers added together is this number. This is 2024. And if you
Yeah, I see
multiply
them there all the time.
6,
I thought you wanted to know what the difference was between
Snow.
5% and the 6%. That's why you keep it 5.
Why, that's the only way I make good money, man.
You want the total.
well, yeah, like what it's going to
Because we didn't
cost.
figure out what the 5% was to begin with.
Yeah, well, so this is the current.
Yeah.
This is times 1.06. So that's how much we need. If you want to give them a 6% increase, then this is the additional you need to
Okay.
generate. It's a delta
Yeah.
here. So,
They're trying
so,
to pull. Smith
So,
Estate.
yes, how much does the fire service fee need to be to generate $57,000?
Okay,
Remember that was
but we
going
weren't
up.
gonna change it though.
Listen, the big uproar the
Fire services
had at
fee.
Ashbridge,
Okay,
our guys had to go out
so,
there.
okay, so how much?
So the engineer could take decibels down.
So this covered the fire service fee. Well, it's more than.
No.
Yeah. So you think it's just that? Right, I got you. So what's a 1% increase?
Yeah, that's how I look at it.
Okay.
They spent
Yeah.
Because you're right, it doesn't cover it anywhere.
Right, it doesn't cover it anyway.
One ballot.
Okay.
All right, so, and then what are we talking about? 1.841?
Yeah.
Our wages.
You just want to do 8.
Sort of by me.
Are you guys okay with just increasing it to .845? Okay.
Yes, that I wasn't looking yet.
For 5?
Would
Instead
that
of
just
one.
change it to $20?
Well, it's
Yeah.
gonna be
Instead of
0.0841, not 845.
He's asking us if we're okay doing it 2.845 instead.
Why? What does
What
that
do we
give
do,
us?
what does that generate?
Another $5,000.
Yeah.
It's just like 60,000.
How much would that cost a resident?
Now we're up to $20, an extra $2.
Huh,
Yeah, it's a total of $2.
I'm okay with it.
This is people's money, you know.
I know, I was gonna,
Just
it's
like-
$2 a year,
835 to 841 to
I know.
845.
but it's $2 per year.
Yeah.
Not even 20 cents a month. Or an extra
Well-
20 cents a month.
I assume what we're commenting on tonight is our general openness, just like we have a final
Yeah, we have to vote
discussion on
about
this,
this,
right?
right?
Yeah, because in a few minutes, I'm going to ask you to, after we do the sports and the nonprofits, then is the 2025 millage, which we're recommending a tenth of a mill. So, so that would be, in
That's right.
essence, right?
It's $161,000 extra. I mean, it would generate $161,000.
What's this?
So maybe we look at it all together and
Mm-hmm.
see what all the increases are. I mean, I think we are working hard to try and keep any increases in taxes or fire services to a minimum.
Yeah.
Fair, while still providing the services that people both need and want.
And so that would, so no, that would really come up to a 0.11 mil increase. It's 0.1 on real estate
Mm-hmm.
and 0.01 on fire service.
1 mil, yeah.
0.11 increase would be proposed.
Mhm.
Okay. So you want to hold that in abeyance for a few more minutes? Is that what you want to do? Or you want to decide on that?
Y'all want to see the rest of, like,
Yeah.
All right. So. And next, I guess we want to look at the nonprofits and the youth sports.
Yeah, so the next one. So for the youth sports, only one organization asked for an increase from last year, and that was the ice hockey team. They wanted 5,000. Last year they asked for 4,000. That comes to a total of $23,000 in direct funding. If you add in the indirect funding that we have, that would provide gym time to the ABA and also to the Northtown Wrestling, it comes to an indirect cost of $36,300. Below is the community and nonprofit organizations. All of these requested the same amount as they did the year before, which totals $37,756.
Okay, I have a question about the Elmwood Park Zoo. I thought the Jaguar was going to be our contribution this year. Is that,
That was for 2024.
that was for 2024?
Mhm.
So it was the year before and 2024, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's 23 and 24 that went.
Yeah, because when we adopted this, and then everything switched up a little
Yeah.
bit.
So it wasn't cash, it was the,
We gave them cash. Remember the
I knew we said we were
Jaguar was
giving them.
10,000 and
And I
then.
knew we said we were giving them 1 year's,
We-
we were taking 2 years and putting together that 1 year to get the Jaguar.
We had already given them 5,000, we said, well, we'll give like next year's 10,000, we'll promise like 5,000 for 2024 and use the 2023 5,000 and we'll do the Jag, because they were looking for the Jaguars.
right.
Let's do a Jaguar.
So are we writing a check in 2025, $5,000, or?
Because that's normally,
That's normally what
that
we
is their normal, that's the normal ask, is for 5,000.
And last year, did we cut a check for 5,000?
Last year, it would have been, I think, $10,000 in all, but their ask was originally for 5,000, then the Jaguar came along.
The Jaguar came along.
Yeah, and then.
Soon you'll see the
Convinced them to take the 5,000 we gave them in 23 plus the 5,000 in 24 to do the 10,000 for the Jaguar.
Yeah, something along those lines, yeah.
Karen, so are we cutting a check? or-
statue.
Not yet.
What do you mean?
It's not even live.
It's a statue.
Statue. Somebody just said in the car, like.
The statue's gonna be here?
It's not Jaguar
Next
cars.
page is Jaguar care and maintenance. Turn to page 12.
You know, that's my.
What did they come anyway? So are we cutting a check or did, we paid for the Jaguar?
The Jaguars paid, that was 2023 and 2024's, what otherwise would have been their $5,000 donations anyway, went to the $10,000 Jaguar.
Okay, so we didn't.
So this is for
cut a check
2026, or 2025.
We didn't cut anything additional beyond what we usually contribute.
So we got a Jaguar.
We got
and
Jaguars.
now
we're
they're
getting
just
a
asking-
Jaguar.
Yeah, now they're just asking
Statue,
for
not a
their
car.
annual 5K.
I'm not
Yeah.
It had to be redone. On a very bad diet, terrible Jaguar.
All right. You know, it's not even listed, like when we talk about sort of the like in-kind donations, like we just talked about $100,000 worth of dugouts for Plymouth Little League, the fact that we take care of the fields, like, that's not even,
So, I mean,
With soccer, the fact that we, and the other baseball that was on up there, softball, the water, that we're gonna be redoing it, sprinklers, and then, I mean, that doesn't show up.
Do they
If you-
pay fees or do we give that?
if you look at the next page, you know, behind that, you'll see. So, I mean, the number of township residents, you know, in these numbers is, for soccer and wrestling, like way less than half. Ice hockey, you know, only 40%. Spartans is 60. Little League is 80. But that's one thing. And then you look at what their cash balances are at the bottom. Like Colonial Soccer has $417,000. Like, you have to wonder, why do they need $5,000 more from us? But that's just me. Or they're actually only asking for $1,500.
And
And then if you want to look at the contributions from the other municipalities whose children play here,
We don't need this kind of
so
money.
some did list that none others give them anything, others just left it blank.
That kind of money.
they do
So
not
I just
give
assumed no
them
one
anything.
gave them anything.
Since I've been liaison to the Bucks Board,
They don't get
I have been
anything.
telling them, you go to these other municipalities, you show up at their meetings like you're showing up at our meeting, and ask them for money. Your children are playing
I
here.
made sure I put that box in this year just to show.
Yeah, thank you. Because they're not paying anything. We're the only ones who are supporting them financially. I mean, obviously, the parents, the kids play, they have to, you know, pay all
We
of
still have
the.
all their registration fees.
And then-
Yeah, they have
We're the only ones
registration.
Doing a little extra.
And then on page 3 is the registration fees from 22 to 24. Most of them increase every year.
but so the thing about like
That's how they're getting
funding
money.
these, I mean, not only are we giving them, and none of them are getting huge amounts of money, but it all does add up. And we're taking care of the facilities, mowing the fields,
One of the things I do notice on the registration fees for PW Ice Hockey, the one that's actually asking for more, I don't know if they do it for other residents, but at least for the township residents, they give a discount to.
Yeah.
So it'd be something that we see we contribute a little bit to them, to give our residents a little bit of a discount.
Yeah, which is good. But I mean, these other townships. that are
Township, it's less, it's 40%.
Take care of all the
Yes.
facilities, giving them our gym, turning the lights on, mowing the grass, putting dugouts out there. I
Which is
mean,
why the in-kind,
kind of hope that, yeah.
we put it down for the ABA and for the wrestling. But we're not putting down any of the in-kind cost for these other sports.
That's
for
what-
the
that's what I mean.
Percentage of the year that they're using these fields that our participants is caring for.
Yeah, Little League, Spartans.
Subsidizing it?
Taking care of those
50%.
small.
Anyone that hasn't traveled.
You said 27 years.
Well, the travel, are some of them, how many of them are paying fees to actually rent them versus who are we actually giving in-kind contributions to?
We're not paying fees to use,
Or for,
Like,
they don't pay us to use our
I don't think
fields
any,
or
I
gyms.
don't think anyone
Right.
is. I mean,
We pay the school districts, but we don't pay for our own fields.
But they're also not paying, so if Plymouth
Yeah.
Little League is using those fields and the Plymouth travel team at the end of the season is practicing, they're not paying the township.
yeah, but I.
just because I know we rent out to other, I don't know who
All
we're
these-
renting out to, who we're not. These all use them.
They're all free. All these fields are free to them. And then when they're inside, we're paying for that. We're paying for gym time at the middle school. We're paying, they make a transfer like the gym time at the community center that they can't rent to others, that they give to ABA. You know, they give them the gym certain Saturdays and other times to play all their games. There's, they get there's a value attached to that they get as a dual transfer.
Yeah.
Well, also for some of these, I'm just interested what's gonna happen like in the years to come, because the borders are open for some of these. So like PW Spartans, everyone who was at the Country Bears is now at the Spartans.
Right. Well, I've heard that.
Oh, okay. That makes sense, why they increased.
Yeah.
That was a lot more than last year.
And like you could live in like Philadelphia and come play here.
And ABA, a lot is.
A lot.
A lot.
Yeah.
They're very competitive. They didn't give you the numbers. Because the residents,
I think the Little League
give a
just
whole
did
lot of
I think the same thing happened with them too.
boundaries have changed.
Basically, everyone opens their borders and anyone can play out.
I mean, honestly, if we're using our fields and we're not paying any.
Well, I will say, I do think, here's what I find, I would have to find the like actual specifics on this, but like the Plymouth Little League travel team, I'm pretty sure they each player makes a $200 contribution to the Little League. But are they paying anything for like the actual field use? And then like, here's something that's
We don't
happening.
charge for our
The
field use.
Spartans have been using the outfields
I
for
know.
the Little League.
I hear all about it. I know.
You're ripping up that field.
Yep.
Use the field that you're
Some of them were
supposed to
turf.
use.
Yep, because the field two, which was turf for the
Right.
state championships, and they're putting their sleds on, the football sleds, and
Yeah.
ruining it. And that's what the Pico field was supposed to be for.
Right.
Practice, so that they didn't
Yeah.
rip up because they don't want to rip up the football field, so they rip up the baseball fields, so they can practice over there. So their field is nice when it comes to game day.
Yeah, I would like to see what the in-kind contributions are for, because we're showing it, and for them to use, the middle school's not giving them free gym time.
We're paying
They're
for
making
it.
us pay for it. And like, why are we paying the school district for children outside of the township to play in the middle school? I mean, I get it for our children, but.
I'm also still personally annoyed that we suggested that they have the kids do fundraisers and they
They were
said
avoiding.
no. You're doing them a disservice. When they get to high school, they have to raise money for the things that they want to do. Like Plymouth Little League, 569 participants. Ask them to raise $100 each of whatever it is. Again, I sold $1,200 worth of popcorn.
It's a lot of popcorn.
And $600 went to the organization.
Yeah.
It's not that difficult. And it's teaching them something good. And I feel like it used to be the norm,
Oh, yeah.
but I don't know where that went.
You know, just based on the cash balances, that's what I'm looking at.
I'm looking
Short
at it,
of-
I'm
short of the
saying
Legion,
any of the ones.
which is all adults anyway, there's no children in the
Well,
Legion.
right, that's what I
So,
thought.
short of that, Legion Ball, none of these organizations need their 5,000, $1,500 to $5,000.
Even Plymouth
None of them
ABA,
need
they've
it.
got $279,000, and we're paying on their behalf $6,000 for them to
play in the
use
middle
the
school
gym, and
Why
then
does the
giving
middle
them
school let
another
them use the gym?
$3,500.
The PW ice, we don't have an ice hockey facility that PW ice hockey uses,
No.
so they're out in like White Mark.
I think they go up to, I don't know where they play.
Yeah.
Oaks? I'm assuming
Oaks,
not.
the
Oaks is
Wissahickon and Chestnut Hill,
only
all the way
one.
out in, like, where's Vogie go? Like, all the way out in the Bucks County?
Yeah, Bucks County.
Yeah, those kids are all over the place.
So we're not giving them any in-kind.
No.
Contributions
But-
at all.
But they get
And
5,000,
we're
they get the most, but still.
They also give a discount to Plymouth Township residents.
Yeah.
Like, I do feel a little bit seen there in that sense that we're giving them a little something, and they're trying to give a little bit back to our residents, because we're one of the townships that step up for them and give a little bit.
And I am in favor of youth sports, and I love that we're supportive of it in so many ways, but it just seems a little bit excessive that we're taking care of facilities, we're paying for gym time, we're taking care of fields, we're building dugouts, and we're giving them donations on top of it, and some of them are sitting at $300,000. And we're looking at our budget like trying to balance a lot of essential services.
Yeah, and
So
they
it's-
keep the concession stand money too. I mean, we build the concession stand, but they get to keep it.
I mean, I want to be supportive because they're doing good work, but,
And in truth, we really are supportive
Give
with
them each
all the.
$1,000.
what's that?
Give them each $1,000.
She was giving them some.
What?
She was giving them some.
I personally would recommend don't pay any. I recommended that last year.
What?
I'm not paying
Don't
any.
pay any of it. They don't need it. Look at they have cash
Well, if you look at
balances.
the
They don't need it. Well, I don't know why we pay it. Most of them aren't township
Or even why
residents.
we're covering the cost of like gym time.
Why we're giving the school
Like I said,
district
like-
I'd be willing to
money?
bet less than half the kids come from Plymouth in Plymouth ABA basketball.
Well, that they wouldn't give us
Yeah.
figures is disturbing.
Yeah, they didn't give me any figures, or they didn't say anything.
And they also have over 200.
And I just like don't like the attitude that they're coming in here like, oh, well, we provide this service, so like they're not really prepared. Like when Plymouth Little League came, they didn't have their budget info. And it almost feels like they're like, oh, well, you owe it to us.
Are these just the numbers that
That
they've
attitude.
always been given? Are these the numbers that have always been given, year after year, they just requested, or?
I have,
Yeah, Preston.
I'm just curious, because like, I wonder why there's been difference.
I've seen
Different-
different organizations come and go based on,
Several of them asked for a lot.
Who are we talking about?
we used to have different ones and now we have other ones.
ADA?
And there was one,
What they said,
Oh, they said,
leaves and their charity.
I pressed them on that at the meeting, and
Weren't there
they had
anymore.
480 kids.
What others come on?
86 of them were girls.
A lot of townships don't give anything. White Marsh.
70%.
The Little Leagues down in Lower Marion, I think they had, I would say it was almost over 4,000 kids playing. Right, we got, there's 17 ball fields that we got down there.
That's what they said at the
They
meeting.
got grants through like some sort of skin cancer organization to put all of their,
Looks like we're
starting to put all their new dugouts in throughout their facilities. So that's something that can,
70%
The
Plymouth.
concrete make the chain link so the sun comes right through.
it's concrete based and it has, you know,
Bothers me
four
that
sides, has the metal roof.
that's not Plymouth.
And some of them have fencing around it, some of them are just open.
But they all seem to have.
That's all.
really?
They were all funded from
That's,
skin cancer
We're
organizations.
paying $6,000 for them to use the gym.
we pay
They're,
6,000.
all the dugouts are labeled with what organization. I can stop by one and just shoot it.
We don't charge them to use the gym in the community center.
Like what organization it came from that funded the grant. You know, the same thing with all of our AEDs that we got
That we could have.
via grant.
But even if we were nice enough just to say,
Some parks have 4 AEDs in them, some of them have 1.
I mean, that's different from us handing
Oh,
over
yeah.
$6,000.
Oh, yeah.
No, it is.
Very
Yeah,
strong.
Here's a
that
check
happened
for
in my high school.
$6,000.
Yes.
Yeah, after I
And
left,
by the way, we're going to give you
exact
down
same
another
thing.
$3,500
A bunch
in
of
cash.
money and
Yeah.
one
That's like
coach came in
$10,000,
and
like
disappeared.
$10,000.
It's,
And they're
yeah.
sitting at $279,000. Like, it's
Right.
It's not like the league's not gonna run without that support.
Yeah.
I'm personally okay with doing just in-kind contributions and not doing the donations that we get. Because I think we're setting some kind of like prioritization that I don't really love between these organizations by giving some of them 5,000.
Yeah.
I understand that. And like, we've already gone over.
I think some of it is based on
Especially
what they
when
ask
you
for.
consider what the
So
in-kind
it's part
is.
of why they might be different. and
Yeah,
There's a decrease.
Yeah.
still don't love it, but
Yeah, I mean, $100,000 for new dugouts is not a small contribution on the part of the township to improvements for Plymouth Little League.
yeah.
Field care, field
Aren't they
maintenance.
ultimately asking for like 250
Yeah.
too?
Yeah, that's what they were asking for.
See, we
You don't
spend the
see,
money
you
to
won't
do
find that in the
ourselves.
budget, by
I
the way.
figured.
There was a reason it wasn't in here.
Capital budget, right here.
I mean, I love kids' sports. My son plays Plymouth Little League. Like, I want to support them, but it seems like a little much, given the other stuff that I'm seeing and all this money to ABA.
And ABA is just the one listed.
Right.
Yeah, are there other, well, the Norristown Wrestling.
Yeah.
$300.
Yeah. I
Norristown
mean,
Wrestling
that's
is
not-
probably
yeah.
close to 23,000, I would guess. 23,300. Given that it's
And the
What,
wrestling
36,300
actually
total?
needs new clocks and
Yeah.
mats. They
like the
have,
direct and indirect funding is about
They have
36,300
real needs.
total.
Yeah.
So the 23,600 from the Greater Norristown.
It's mainly for
About
ADA,
13,000.
the indirect funding.
Yeah.
and they said they need new clocks and their mats are in really bad shape.
I'm okay with giving like donations for specific items that they come in and ask for, if they're transparent with us.
Right.
That I'm more okay with. I don't
Yeah.
I don't love just a year after year, like, this is what we
Donation.
do, and this is what we've always done.
Yeah, I don't love this is what we've
I
always
think
done.
I think I would like that too, because then they would have to come in with their budgets.
Right, I'd much rather.
They'd
Well,
have to come.
they go to the Parks Board
Yeah.
with that. They fill out these forms.
Mhm.
And they come in, God, they did them all in one night. We
Yeah.
were there till 10:30.
But that's just asking for donations, like just kind of in general, correct?
No, this is asking, this is in support of their ask to the town.
But is that like an itemized, this is what we want this money for? Or is that just we would like the township
They
to
come
support
in
us
and they
with
talk
5,000?
about it, like the, I was looking for what the wrestling guys said. They had some specific needs. Yeah, they wanted $3,000 because they need new mats and new cloths.
I mean, I like what you said, Erin. I think if there's a.
If there's something
Yeah,
that
I
pressing.
like that too.
Like, I
Yeah.
think we all want to see these programs exist and do well and have what they need to serve the kids, but, yeah, they have a specific need, they can ask, and
And there's some, like, they all have enough cash on hand, like even a $3,000 to get some new
The only one that really
mats.
doesn't is
They could do that themselves.
the Mount Carmel Legion and the wrestling are very low on cash, and ice hockey is low on
Mount Carmel, it said there were 9 participants.
I don't think they fill that out right.
Yeah. I was like,
You can't just play with 9. I don't think they fill that out.
Helps. Rotate pictures.
His arm's falling off. Go to
lots of
shortstop.
playing time for everybody.
Well, you're 33% of their players were from outside, so they were free. So, math.
Any consensus?
I think I like Aaron's idea.
I like
Cut
Adam's idea
the
too.
donation, cut the yearly donations, and just if they need something, they're more than welcome to come ask. And if we just have it in our general fund to be able to make a donation, and they can show that they need it, we're more than happy to support.
That wasn't more than the $4,000 or $3,000 that we're already gonna get, like you wouldn't.
You're right, we wouldn't go over
You
that.
wouldn't go over
Yeah.
the amount that was used to.
It would just be a more like informed decision on our part, rather than just.
Money's going toward, yes.
So, $1,000 to each one? If they need more, they can come, the way.
I wouldn't open it up like that, because who's not coming back, you know? If you need more, come back. Everybody's coming back.
We'll be here tomorrow.
Well, you're on the Parks and Rec board, right? So were there any of the organizations that don't have an enormous amount of cash on hand that needed something from us, like
That seemed pressed.
that seemed pressed, that, that would make sense to give them some money, or?
I think it was the wrestling, and I'm trying to remember what hockey said. Wrestling seemed to have real needs, and I think hockey did, but let me see what they said. And they're the ones who give a discount to Plymouth Township children.
But less than half the organization is Plymouth Township Children.
And then based on the registration fees, they give a $100 discount to the Plymouth residents. And there's 27 Plymouth residents, so that's $2,700 that Plymouth residents save of the $4,000 that we gave. So, some of it came back to Plymouth Township.
To a few people, yeah. This is everybody's taxpayers' money.
It seems like it's really wrestling that expressed a real need for some equipment. Specific equipment. The wrestling clocks, which are very old, and their wrestling mats, which are in very bad shape. They were the ones who came in with actual, this is what we need the money for. And so did Little League, but theirs was
The gigantic.
the $150,000 for renovations to the clock.
So do we want,
I'm not entirely sure how much those things cost, so I don't know.
do we want to do it where maybe set a precedent going forward of their speeches to the Parks and Rec Board? At like the end for the next year's budget is where they present what they think they're gonna need next year and what they would want, and Parks and Rec can make the recommendations.
I think it gets dicey though, like what, if they're proposing what they need, like, well,
Mats might cost $10,000, you know, then you're gonna say yes or no.
And what they said was the two new clocks and the new mats would cost them $15,000, and they were asking for $3,000.
Did they say if the other townships are paying, was that part of, like, do they get?
They do not, and every year I ask them why.
Yeah, nobody else contributes, like, I don't know why Plymouth does, but,
Yeah. So that's,
yeah, like if Norristown doesn't.
I mean, I
contribute to
encourage them
Norristown
every year
Wrestling,
to go
like,
to
I
the
don't know
other
why Plymouth-
townships. But they haven't done it so far. And I haven't been liaison there that many years.
It's a slippery slope if you just ask them what they want, because
Yeah.
like you say, it's gonna
Right.
cost $15,000, that's
Right.
way worse than what we're paying now.
Might open up really very large requests.
Yeah.
So those are the, I mean, like I said, the Greater Norristown Wrestling was the only one that had specific financial needs.
and they do think have some
They have
cash
some cash on
available,
hand.
so they,
Yeah, I mean, they pay to use the gyms, which,
what does this mean though?
The Greater Norristown Wrestling, $300 payment to school district for gym.
District for gym, is that something we're
That's
paying?
one of the
Repeatedly?
direct and indirect fundings, correct?
that's something.
Is that an ongoing expense now, or a one-time
Yeah, that's what we
expense?
pay. Yeah, that's a yearly expense, $300, but it's something that we pay for them.
Okay.
Each time they use the gym?
No, just
or
once.
Overall?
I think it's just for once. Well, we only give them $300.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty minimal compared to 6,000 for basketball.
Okay, so that.
I asked them,
There's the
why don't they
23.
go to the school district and ask, you
Yeah,
know, if the community center's letting them use the gym for free, why won't the school
Yeah.
district let them, I said, do you go to the school board meetings and say, Plymouth Township doesn't
Give
charge
us the
us,
school-
can
the
you
gyms for free."
not charge us?
Yeah.
They just think it's easier to come ask us for money, I guess.
Well, it's just there's so many things in our budget this year that are like must
know.
do. It's just,
Should we,
Yeah, I would
I mean,
hate to
these
send
feel
a
like-
message that we're not supporting sports at
Yeah.
all, though. I think if we give them each some
1,000.
amount of money and the same amount for everybody,
I like doing the same amount for everybody.
especially because some have nothing hardly anything in the bank, and others have a lot in the bank.
Yeah, Colonial Soccer is raking in the dough. Well, they have a ton of participants, so.
It's a up and coming sport.
yeah, I mean, it's a big program and they do a great job.
Yeah, they do a really good job.
Well, it's also a really costly venture because you
True.
have the fields and
Right.
you have a lot of equipment. I mean, so what if we said we're giving each group 1,000 or 1,500, and that's that.
I think 1,000 is fine, yeah.
Because I don't want to send a message that we don't support.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah,
We
children's
should give
sports
them
is
something.
important.
I mean, I think regardless, we still want to find a way to, it's still cost effective.
Yeah, it seems fair across the
Mhm.
board.
Ready to go? 1,000 each?
Yeah.
Okay.
And maybe one of the messages we can share is how much we are providing these in-kind services and in direct payment. Like this whole, maybe there's a conversation that somebody can have about this payment to the school district.
Yeah.
I mean, I've had that conversation, so.
No, but I mean,
With the
Well, not with the district,
yeah.
with the teams going to, it doesn't seem proper that Plymouth Township should go and harangue the school district to pay these sporting groups who have no problem coming to us, should go to the school district the way they come to us.
Do you want me to
I mean, we make them
add
come
this
to
to
us.
my list of conversations that I need to have with Gail?
But maybe if we make the point, like we are very much interested in sports, everybody's gonna get a little something. And there's all these in-kind services that we're providing. We're actually providing quite a lot of support to almost every sport in some way.
Yeah.
In terms of fields, facilities, care for fields, upgrade and maintenance.
I think the only ones we don't give any in-kind would be wrestling and ice hockey.
And wrestling, we're paying for their gym.
No,
You give that $300.
No, they don't wrestle in the community center, I think they wrestle.
No, but we pay $300.
We're paying $300.
Yeah, yeah,
for them,
exactly.
so, Yeah.
So we do give some sort of
Yeah.
in-kind.
So aside from ice hockey,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
but everybody else is getting something. We're providing a space and taking care of it in large part.
Food, yeah, and the food cupboard and the thrift shop.
Okay. Now we get all the nonprofits.
Nonprofits, yeah.
Let's move on.
Do you have to stay for the whole thing?
Maybe we want to.
They can.
They're having fun. They think it's fun.
We're looking at 5 to 6% increase, so I could probably just save your time if you want.
All right.
Okay, so $1,000 to each organization, what about the, what do we call it?
The nonprofits?
The 6,000 and 7,000 for the ADA, the school district gym time and the donation of gym time to the community center.
I could live with the donation of the
Our
community.
time.
There's a community
I don't know if,
center,
I
yeah.
honestly don't know if I can live with us
Six.
paying the school district.
I agree.
I don't think we have
I
to.
don't think we should have to do that either.
One more of you
Sorry.
think that way, and then that's a majority? What? I heard you.
So for the
say-
school district, are we gonna call the school district and hopefully, or just say we're not
They
doing
can
it?
go and talk to the, they come and talk to us,
School
they
district
can
is
go
getting
and
a
talk to
check
the
from
school
us.
district.
Right, yeah, I'm all right with that.
You all right with it? So 3?
We aren't their organization, we are supporting.
We've had this conversation with them multiple times, like, go talk to the school district, and they haven't, and they just keep relying on us to pay it, then, yeah. I
That's
guess.
for both
They're,
ABA.
they're not gonna go until we stop, if we keep paying it, there's no reason for them to go. Because we're writing a check either way.
$300.
Send them their student bill.
Oh, you do?
But I mean,
Put it in their fund.
I feel like if we're not doing it for one, we can't do it for any.
You're probably right.
and if wrestling
It's just
educator,
like a-
300, that's a small end.
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
exactly,
Small
yeah,
one.
that's.
Because they, otherwise we could have.
And again, we're still giving them $1,000, so they still lose $700 that they can use for the 300.
6,000.
Yep.
When's the next meeting for the,
Have fun.
yeah?
Yeah, good luck.
It's right before Thanksgiving. Tuesday before Thanksgiving and Wednesday before. Like,
Did we decide on the one-time $300 for?
Yes,
Al?
remove it.
Okay, so that one, okay, good. As it should be.
I don't even know. I wonder if they just get the check and keep it.
I don't know.
Like, it can't.
I mean, the district used to say they had to pay a custodian to be there to lock up after them. That's
okay.
part of what it is. But again,
Oh.
they could pay for that, you know? Or get done before the custodians has to leave anyway, because I'm sure they're there till a certain time at night.
How many bags of popcorn is that?
What?
The $300, how many bags of popcorn is that?
I don't know how many bags of popcorn.
They could do that.
That is expensive popcorn, I will tell you that.
All right. Nonprofits?
Nonprofits.
Oh.
I mean, these are all important services, it's, I mean, the biggest chunk is the Norristown Public Library. And I assume are we paying some, like a fair share so that our
It's $1
residents can?
per population, per head.
Yeah,
Right now.
there you go.
Okay.
Per capita.
because we don't have our own public.
Because that is our library.
Yeah.
And then they would tell us, like, the Conshohocken Free Library is the closest one to Plymouth, although we're welcome to use any of the 4 Montgomery County Public Libraries.
Yeah.
And then with your card, you can go to Jean's
Oh,
or
right.
Lincoln or anywhere with the McLink on your card.
And I believe all these get funding from other municipalities as well.
Yeah.
You can use the Wissahickon.
Yeah.
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 You can use any county.
Okay.
Good with all of those?
Everybody else? Yes? Okay.
That's one of the things that I noticed.
Orange pays 3,500.
I did do the math on that, and we're actually fairly comparable in terms of the percentage of residents that get served, and in terms of the total contributions, all the contributions, we're roughly the same.
But yeah, these are,
Although at least the total amount that they ask for from the
I don't want
townships.
to cut any of these.
And I think it's reasonable to say we pay a fair share.
We pay a fair share,
to-
or at least of the contributions they
Yeah.
get from other townships, it's comparable to the amount of residents that get served.
And I think that shows what they ask for too. They ask for the same thing.
Yeah.
So they're happy with it.
All right.
And we always get a thank you from these guys too.
That's nice.
I'm just saying.
Good manners. No.
One for good manners. All right, Kellen, where are we going next?
Are we going back to the
We'll go
fire?
back to either, fire companies and ambulance. And Village, and the only other thing is I have the ins and outs. So,
So,
you want to hear that first?
yeah. What number are we
Yeah.
Is that 11-058?
on?
Right, we're doing the ins and outs,
Yeah.
the yeses and Os, or suggestion? Yep.
Yeah.
We'll get it done.
I thought everyone has this one.
I don't know, was that in your packet?
It should be.
This one?
Yeah, okay.
Uh,
Sorry.
So briefly, the top part is all the asks that were made for this year so far. And that's where we come up with the ending cash balance of $5,086,765. So a budget deficit of $10.75 million. And then our suggestions are at the bottom there for every for the major inputs and factors of the budget.
This number at the top.
Yeah, that
is
includes all the
reflected
asks.
Based on all these asks
All the asks.
going the way the suggestions are listed.
No.
All they say yes to all of them.
These are all the asks from the department heads. Every single ask.
Okay.
So, the first one is the increase in real estate millage. We have in this budget a 1/10 of a mil increase, and that would generate $161,944, and Cal and I would recommend we keep that in. In the police budget, there's a social worker for $80,000, and my suggestion would be to hire a consultant as opposed to an employee on an as-needed basis. I'm not sure that this is a 40-hour-a-week job, at least not initially. So, see if there's a consultant-type person, of someone with their master's in social work.
Actually, can I interject?
Yeah.
We have
mentioned on a grant.
we don't have any information on the grant yet, but that's something we can constantly put in for year to year. But I did find another agency so it wouldn't be an employee, that offers 25 hours a week for $60,000. We wouldn't have to worry about paying the extra money. The other agency wanted $100,000 to pay for their pension and pay for their things, which I think is much more suitable to our needs. The price was lower. It's not our employee. Hopefully, we get this grant that I put in for. If not, I'll continue to put in for grants. They were very excited, actually, to work with us, and they've worked with other county agencies, so they're familiar with this. In fact, they work for Radnor Police. They do the same type of thing, so we did some research. I think that that's a good option, and it would be $60,000 as opposed to the $80,000 I originally put in. Possibly nothing if we get the grant, but I think it's a good option. I think it's the best option that we've been able to find so far.
Are there any that do it, when I think consultant, I'm thinking of like Mike Clark or Tim Woodrow, you call them when you need them, or otherwise it's guaranteed 25 hours a week?
They would actually come in 25 hours because when we have these incidents that happen or we have issues, you physically need somebody to be here to deal with the people. And I forget the number, it's about 180 or so calls that we have for this in particular. Most of them are repeat offenders, so clearly we're not meeting their needs. So all the more reason. But no, we haven't found anything where it's
just as needed, so you call them when you need them, but...
No, they'd be coming in here 25 hours a week. We would tell them what are the, through the research.
What are the higher volume times?
Would they have enough to do is my point. If we're paying for them, I just want to make sure they would have enough to do.
Yeah, I believe they'd have more than enough to do, just based on what we've seen with other departments. And the other departments haven't had Radnor Township does not have the need for unhoused and mental illness. They just don't have the numbers at all. And yet they're utilizing that person. We have the numbers, we have the need. We're right outside of Norristown where we're getting a lot of people that don't have the money and they're being pushed out of Norristown. So we certainly have the numbers. We certainly have the people here.
I think by being here, you establish a relationship.
Yes.
They know the township, they're here, they know the officers. The officers learn from them. They're learning from our officers about the population that we have to serve. So it does kind of make sense for them to be here and get to know our township, our police force, and the residents and transient people who are in need of service.
And it was one of the things that they had recommended. I was looking to see what if I had a bunch of different people offer hours, and they talked about one person to establish relationships with people. My intention was to marry that person up with our community policing officer, because they're already out there in the community, and actually get them out to these locations where we see large amounts of people that need help the Wawa, at the mall, at the Metroplex, places where the buses basically congregate and they have the transportation, and to do exactly that. But since it's so new, and I'm going off of what Lansdale has done, which has been very successful, and Pottstown, which has been successful, it's a new thing, so I can't guarantee you what is, I just can guarantee you have the need here, and I'm hoping to work it in. But this has been the most economical, the least amount of hours, and some agency that has experience with other police departments in the county.
I think it makes sense.
I like the-
$20,000 less.
Yeah, I like the idea too of, as you said, there might be some people that repeatedly have needs, and having the same person who supports them and shows up each time, to me, that's like a huge win.
I agree, yeah.
All right, so we switch that to 60,000?
Yes. Thank you.
All right, the next one is the 4 additional police officers. And I don't think it's any surprise to John. I don't think that the township should hire 4 new police officers additional.
What is your reasoning why?
A couple things. I'm not convinced that they're needed, number one. Number two, I'll give you a couple pages, but I need to get these back because it's a lot of, can't talk about individual names, but the topic is a white agenda item, but is the cost. So when you hire, employees, we're going to have them for 25 or 30 years. And I'll give you a couple more pages here. And I just don't know that we can afford them, to be honest. That's the reason. I also will give you.
Yeah, but isn't this like fire? Don't we have to figure out how to afford them? I'm not saying like we necessarily do all 4.
Yeah.
But-
Well, it's your decision, Kristen. I'm not telling, it's your decision. I'll tell you, that's going to show you through the next 5 years. Each page is a different year of what the total cost is going to be. Here's another schedule with the number of officers that Plymouth has compared to our surrounding townships, and including places like Upper Merion that has as much commercial and probably incidents as we have. Number of officers per population and number of officers per square mile. And also just the cost. It's the cost. Our probationary officers are starting at $109,000. Within a couple of years, they're up at I didn't bring the contract, a lot of money. I don't think we can sustain it. Oh, here they are. Sorry, tell us, Charlie. So they're at 109 now. They're at 126 in 3 years from next year. They're 126,007.
Contract.
Is that the salary?
Yes. Well, if that contract, is at 4%.
And
This is.
then the benefits on
It's
top of that?
did I?
It's on the
back. Oh, sorry. It's on the back of the first page I sent you. But these are the salaries.
It's on the last page back.
So 2024 and 2025 are at 4% for sure, because they're under contract. This just shows what, if the next contract showed 4%, what that might look like too. You're looking at $202,000 for a lieutenant, in a few years. It's unsustainable. It's unsustainable. And this is just salary. This isn't pension or health care or any benefits, post-retirement.
What are the benefits and pension, where are those figures?
Well, they're not even here, and these numbers are unsustainable, and that's why I say it. That's why I say it. It's just, it's $200,000 a year. I just don't see how you can sustain that.
Well, how are these other municipalities sustaining it?
They don't have as many officers as we have. And they may have.
Upper Merion has 74. And it looks like if you're going population per officer, they're somewhere we'd be somewhere in between that, 48 and 74.
What do you mean? We have the lowest. like,
I'm saying it looks like we should be closer to 74 based on the fact that you have it here, population per officer 486, so they have 74. We have 48 and 380. That number's not that far apart. It's only 100 apart, but they have a lot more officers. I'm just trying to understand
Yeah, and they have a
how
lot more
this.
people, yeah, than we have in Upper Marion.
We actually
That's based
have
on-
more.
We actually have better
officers per-
coverage.
We have more
We have better
officers
coverage.
per
We have more
people.
coverage.
Yes, we have more officers per people. We have one for every 380
But
people.
this is
They
how
have
many
one
officers
every
per
400.
Person.
Per-
So there's 48 officers.
Population divided by the number of
Officer
officers.
Takes care of 380 people here.
Population divided by number of officers, so.
Oh, I see what you're
So
saying.
for every
Yeah, okay.
380
So
township people.
so in this case, being the lowest is the best coverage. We've got the best coverage.
Upper Marion, 74 officers are taking care of 486.
Each one.
Each officer.
Right, okay.
And our officers at 48 are taking care of 380.
That all being said, we do, as we saw the statistics from Chief, that we do have a lot more crime in our.
Right.
A lot of that is retail theft.
Population.
Yeah, crime, so Upper Marion is the only one that compares.
Can I share
Yes.
some stuff I put together based on the questions you asked last time and to answer these questions? Because some of the things there, do you mind pasting? Yeah. Some of it is, I can see why it's confusing, but what I did was, just to basically break it out, what I did was the 6 biggest departments in Montgomery County, were the 6th largest, to give you an idea. So the first one is the Part 1 crimes, the most serious crimes, to give you an indication where we fall. And underneath each department, it shows you how many officers they have that are, servicing those. So you can see right off the bat, our Part 1, the serious crimes, are already higher than Norristown, that has 20 more officers than we do, and ironically higher than Lower Marion, that has 136 officers. Part 2 crime, which is less serious crime, we're higher than Upper Marion and Lower Marion and Cheltenham, all of which have more officers than we do. And I also put where the statistics came from, the website, in case anybody wants to go, you'll get the same answers. In addition, I put where we're projected to go, because one thing I found when I was researching these other departments is their Part 1 and Part 2 crimes have been fairly static, as well as their arrest rates. And for the most part, that's because Cheltenham doesn't have a lot of businesses coming in there. Norristown doesn't have that, and so they haven't been growing, where the last 5 years, as I've showed you, we've had consistent growth.
Is Part 1 like felonies, Part 2 misdemeanors? They're not like traffic tickets, right?
No, Part 1 is the serious, which are mostly felonies,
Misdemeanors.
most serious.
Side rape, robbery, aggravated assault.
And at the bottom there,
Oh,
it classifies them, even less serious or still fairly serious crimes.
My bad, I didn't see that.
I put them together in the next chart, Part 1 and Part 2, because that constitutes what your crime rate is. So it gives you an idea, again, where you fall. You can see we're still above Upper Marion and Lower Marion, and above Norristown with those numbers. Now, I guess the confusion when you say how many officers per population, our population is only 18,000, but that's not who we service all the time. You'll see that when you go to the next one with arrests. Our projected arrests are higher than everyone's. Our current arrests are higher than everyone with the exception of Norristown. And you'll see it in our annual report that I already posted for 23. If you look at the breakdown of our arrests, 41% of last year's arrests were all out of Philadelphia. So we're not dealing with the people that are in the township. I think Plymouth Meeting, 5% of those people are the people that we wind up arresting, which is good, and then the other big chunk, 12%, is out of Norristown. So we're not dealing with the people like in Cheltenham, they're mostly from Cheltenham. In Norristown, they're mostly from Norristown. We're dealing with outside people. And the other thing I wanted to show you, there's another one. The total arraignments, which again are for the serious crimes, misdemeanor 1s and above, felony 3, felony 2, felony 1. In the 2 years that the county's been keeping track, we've led all these departments. In fact, we've led all but one department in Montgomery County, and there's 50 departments, which shows you the workload, again, with fewer people. I know I've talked to all of you about it's a transient community, so I wanted to show you where I get most of my statistics. I didn't bother including the statistics from Mid-County interchange because for the most part, all I can tell is they go right through the Mid-County. I didn't include them for the Blue Route because I can't tell you where they went. So what I did include was from our Viper system, which is our license plate readers. We have 16 intersections that we have them at. There are a lot more that we could, we're just not there yet. But based on these reads, it gives you how many people are going through those intersections every day.
So this is just every car, not just cars that are popping up as having a problem?
No, every car, it actually reads. So it gives you the intersection, which also is, nice for, you guys can see for your own districts if you want to get an idea. But it gives you, in this case, every month. If you go further down, it gives you the location, it'll give you the whole year, it'll give you an average per month, an average per week, and even an average per day. So you can see the volume for an average per day just at those 16 intersections. We have 102,000 vehicles going through. They're either working here, they live here, they're coming here to shop. And then on the last page, again, it gives you that same information with a total of just from those intersections, over 35 million people coming through. That's not indicative of a township that has 18,000 people that you're servicing. We're servicing a lot more. And with that, I do appreciate that it's expensive and it's a big ask. But what also is unsustainable is the system we have. It's been 27 years. It's been addressed once with 2 people. In that same 27-year period, in the last 20 years with Upper Marion, they added 20 officers. It's not sustainable in that we can't keep doing the same things that we do. We'll always be able to keep the residents safe. We'll always be able to answer calls. But little by little, we've had to back off of other things. And this coming year, I'm going to have to back off of some of our programs of responding to certain kind of calls. I have a meeting set up for tomorrow at 1, depending on how this meeting goes, to see what we're going to do effective January 1st, because the priority has to be public safety. But for the last 5 years, we just went through this national, change about reimagining the police, and we have completely bought into it. And I think we've done a terrific job about it. But that takes resources, it takes people, it takes money. That's just the reality of it. And we've done a good job, and we're continuing to do a good job. It's a shame, it's a sin to have to go backwards, which is exactly what we'd be doing. And I just want to give you the accurate information. You'll always have 110% from me and all of our people. This is not about, if you don't give me what I want, we're going to shut down. That's not what's going to happen. I'm just trying to give you the reality. All I'm looking for is to add an extra person on each squad. I'm not looking for specialty squads. I'm not looking for any of that. I'm trying to sustain those other units that I have. Traffic. I've been borrowing from traffic. I'm down 2 people. I've been borrowing I haven't been borrowing from detectives. I've been borrowing from our power shifts, where I put people out during times that crime is heaviest, in areas that they're heaviest. I've pulled from those just to get people on squads. I'm trying to bolster those squads just so I can keep our people in the neighborhoods doing the traffic control, which keeps down our burglaries, which is one of our biggest complaints. You can see there is congestion here. You can also see that, just like our ambulance chief talked about trying to get to certain areas when there's a lot of congestion, it's difficult. And that's why we have zones. But I also need to get back up to those officers. Just 2 days ago, a Pottstown officer was shot at a domestic. You have to have enough people in certain areas to get to them, to help them. It sounds like a big ask, but considering how long we've gone, we've pushed this down the road enough, and I don't know how much further you can continue to push it. We'll adopt and make changes. So, like I said, this is not a public safety concern. I'm not going to make it seem like it is to scare anybody, like this has to happen. This is about the extras, which make this fairly heavily trafficked township feel like a more small-town feel. I love that, living here. I think most of us love that. I'm not saying we're going to lose it completely, but we're going to start regressing. We're going to have to. It's just the fact, and this doesn't even bode for the future. This is not to say that 3, 4, 5 years down the road, it won't have to be addressed again. This has to be a consistent addressing with all of our emergency services. It just has to be. It's because the township continues to grow. There has to be, we have to keep up with it, just like we keep up with the infrastructure. We have to keep up with service. So that's my pitch. It's been a long meeting. If you have any questions.
What sort of programs are you thinking of backing off on then?
Well, I don't want to give up Cop Camp and I don't want to give up our Citizens Academy, but this is one of the things we're going to talk about tomorrow, because where I've tasked our community policing to look for new things that we can do, I'm going to have to look to back off. I mean, I didn't go into that much depth, but I have the information. Where I have one community policing officer who does a terrific job, and I still think it's enough the way we do things, I'm competing with other departments that have 4, 5, 6 people dedicated just to that. And it's as easy as making a phone call or looking at the Montgomery County directory that lists everybody. Places like Abington have a lieutenant, a sergeant, 3 or 4 officers, and 1 or 2 civilians tasked with something like that. I don't think it's fair that, what are their residents, why do they deserve that and our residents don't? I think we've done a lot with a little, and I had no intention of even adding anybody to community policing. This is just call takers, basically, so that these people can continue to do what they do. Otherwise, I'm going to continue pulling from them. Some of the things were going to be fewer traffic details. My statistics, the last I gave you, I think we're already down about 150 from last year. It's going to be more significant than that. I've tasked one of our lieutenants to look at other departments that, instead of us going to accidents that don't involve injuries and have to be towed, to have people go online and fill out their own stuff. I mean, that's certainly a far cry from a hometown feel. Already lockouts we've had to go by the wayside, unless anybody ever calls and says, my child is locked in the car, I have an animal locked in the car. We always go because we're not going to play those kind of games. Lesser crimes, I had criminal mischief done. I don't want to just refer people to a website and say, fill out your own report. We can, but I don't want to. I don't think anybody wants to, but I have to make up those numbers somehow. And I can make up about 1,000 or 1,500 with all these things all told. It probably won't be enough, but it's a start. But that's where we're at. This is where we're at this point. Like I said, have a meeting tomorrow to start any changes that we might have to make by January, and it would certainly be incremental. And I start slow and see where we have to go. But that's what we're talking about.
Is there work that some full-time police do presently that can be taken over by additional full-time civilian positions? As like a balance to maybe try to have something that's a little bit more financially manageable but still gives you some manpower to keep certain services?
I mean, the ones that can, and I know that in this case, I know Karen disagrees with, let's say, CPU. Again, when we're talking about reimagining the police and dealing with people, the people want, when it's a community policing officer, they want a police officer there to go talk to their kids. They want a police officer when we're dealing with people that don't have homes or have mental illness challenges. Sometimes there's an element of danger, but even when there's not, when it's dealing with kids, that's what they're looking for. And again, I have one of those. But some of the positions that I have done, I used to have a detective handle evidence full-time. We took that back. We have a civilian doing it. She's our evidence technician. We had a sergeant, a sworn sergeant, taking care of the records division, supervising that solely. Now we have a civilian taking that position. So where it was reasonable, we did make those changes. I'm not at any, I've scaled down as much as I can. That's what's been leading up to this. I got rid of the units that I didn't think fit this community. Units that were plain clothes that address small-time narcotics violations. It wasn't necessary, and you'd have 2 people there I would get rid of. You'd have a couple people doing something else that I didn't feel was necessary to our mission. But I've scaled this down as far as I feel we can go. Anything more, you're going to start losing some of these, some of these hometown, small-town feeling that you get. I know probably one of the biggest complaints you all get is traffic in your communities, and it's not just about traffic, it's about safety, it's about quality of life. I have to pretty much give that to my highway patrol unit because the other guys can't do it consistently. They go from call to call, and I keep drawing from that unit. It's tough. What you do see out there, for a large part, a lot of that goes on overtime, which the money isn't even as much the issue, although it's an issue. I can't get people to do it anymore. They get tired. They're like, it's nice, but not for a year or 2 or 3. They're like, no, thank you. So that's not going to be done consistently, where when I have people working Monday through Friday, and that's what you do, you're going to go and you're going to hit those neighborhoods consistently to get rid of the problem. And I think you've seen the results of that. You've seen the results on Jolly Road. When's the last time you had complaints on Jolly Road? I mean, we addressed that. We did as much as we could. I think we're getting better with New Elm Street, but we had a lot more complaints there. But we've certainly targeted that area. And people are entitled. That's their home. I get it. They're not going to hurt my feelings. If you say there's a problem, then we're going to get out there and we're going to do what we can. But I feel bad when we can't. When I tell them, I'm sorry, I can't commit to you. We'll do it when we can, but, and that's where we're at.
So, Kellen, the number that we're looking at here, we said these additional 4 officers, this would be salary only.
Salary only.
For 1 year. Okay.
And salary for the first year, or?
That would be salary for the first year, and then your general increases after that. Your salary increase plus the rank increase. Rank.
Plus, yeah, and then you're in healthcare and
Oh,
pension and.
yeah, this is just.
So this is just
She just
salary.
asked for salary.
Yeah, it's just salary.
Salary.
Because it's, approaches about $1 million a year. What did you say?
Oh, for all 4?
For 4 plus vehicle, an extra vehicle that goes with it, because you would need an extra vehicle if you got the 4, right?
Yeah, the whole ask would be getting close to $1 million.
Yeah.
$1 million for salary, benefits, and vehicle?
Yeah.
Yeah, everything, uniform, everything that goes into it.
For all 4 total?
And then
Or
that
is-
just goes up each year from there.
So you're saying $1 million would cover all 4 officers? Or are you saying they're $1 million each?
Oh, no.
To cover all 4.
Okay, I'm just making sure.
But in the years
1
going
year.
forward, it would be
First
For
greater.
1 year,
1
right.
year. 1 year, 4
Okay.
officers.
And then the following year, it would be more.
Right.
Because the salary increases.
Maybe more than $1 million more. It's just, that's the part that worries me, is when you look at the total packages, with
Yeah.
everything in it.
Well, what if it was less than 4? What if it was like 2?
It's about $250 a person, is that?
You know what
It came out to
percentage
about like
these other
like
communities are
225.
spending of their
Yeah, that would
budget?
be a good.
Because we spend
Yeah.
39% now, I guess we go up a little bit from that. I wonder what percentage of their budget, something like Upper Marion or White Marsh is spending.
What percentage of their budget it is.
Yeah, what percentage of their budget?
I'm sure it's a large percent of every township's budget.
Public
You know,
safety is always the
Public safety is
largest.
always the largest, yeah, right, police.
Well, if it's $1 million,
Yeah,
It's fire separate, yeah.
consider more of a tax increase.
Yeah, I think where I stand is if it, and I think I'm with you, Chief, that there's a need there. But I think to be financially responsible, if it's 1, 2, 3, 4 officers, I think we have to increase taxes to at least cover most of it. because I don't see how that's financially reasonable to add a $1 million increase to our budget without increasing taxes to cover that year-over-year expense. That's not a
Right.
one-time expense, it's constant.
Exactly.
And I realize it's not gonna be $1 million if it's one or two or whatever, it's obviously a lot, it's less depending on how many we decide,
Yeah,
but.
I guess it'd be like $500,000 for 2 officers and $250,000 from here.
Yeah.
Go-
Well, I think, sorry,
Go ahead, go ahead.
I was going to say, along those lines, I mean, we talked about, with the millage increase that we talked about, I think that increased our revenue by $160,000. So in order to get to 2 officers and $500,000,
Must be a
I mean, we'd have
much
to-
larger
Considerable
increase.
and that's 2, not 4. I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, keep going.
No, I was just gonna say, so I'm not opposed to like looking at what that might look like, or that may be as part of the solution if in fact we decided to add officers. I guess I'm wondering, like, what other possibilities exist, reasonable possibilities within our budget to balance something, to create a scenario where if we wanted to add an officer, 2 officers, whatever we decided, like, how we could reasonably make that happen while being fiscally responsible.
Just to double check, this draft budget on the top half is if we said yes to every suggestion that is on at the bottom of the sheet. So if we said yes to 4 officers, that $10 million budget deficit, that is already included in that 10 million.
We didn't put in the health and pension expenses, that would be in there as well.
But it's not in the 10.7, that's what you're asking.
That's what I'm asking, is like that 10.7, is that already including that, or is that saying it's
It's
not?
only including the actual salary itself.
So a portion of that is already included in there,
Salary, not
in that
the
10.7.
benefits and
It's
the-
just not the
benefits.
health and the benefits that isn't.
Pension and all that, yeah.
But like if we only hired 2, that budget deficit, at least for this year, would go down a little bit.
Yes.
And then back up a little bit when we had the health and benefits, but.
Yeah.
But maybe not, because if this only includes salary now and we add benefits back in, it's probably a break even, give or
For
take.
2?
Yeah.
For 2, yeah, it would probably be about a break even, maybe, if you would take out the vehicle, then yeah.
To your point, that we could find other places to cut, I think the only place that I could remember from our conversations in the last 2 meetings was the pool.
Yep. Which is
That would make up,
a huge expense.
is a huge expense, that's the only place where I could think of that was like, okay, that's one thing that we could do to maybe make room for an officer. It wouldn't be 4 officers, I don't think. No, it would be maybe 2. I think it was a $500,000 expense year over year for the pool. But I don't know if that's something that we
Well,
can
that-
just say, like, it's not, you can't just get rid of the pool, right? That would have to be,
Yeah.
You can't do that without a town hall.
right,
You cannot
yeah.
shut down the pool without letting.
But that could-
residents-
What
that
is
could-
the
like a
status
2
though of
officers
like the
this year
pump
might
room?
be
Like how long
semi-sustainable.
can we let the pump room go?
Okay, so Kellen just took a tour with me.
Okay.
Phil,
It's,
we can't wait.
it's rough,
The
yeah.
straps that are
Like will
holding
the
it,
pool
pipes
stop
them.
functioning?
Yes.
You'll have to
Yeah.
shut it down. I've
Yeah,
been in
it would
the
just be
pump.
closed. It could be closed for a year or 2 or something until you figured it out. But there are metal straps that are completely rusted, and some have already broken, that are holding up the big pipes that, you know, all the water goes through.
You should take a tour of the
It's
pump.
bad. It's very bad.
It was, I saw it.
I mean,
It was bad.
You looked, a year ago it was bad, yeah. The pieces have fallen.
I mean, I think,
I think that's a discussion we very genuinely might need to have next year with the township. Like as a town hall, like,
Yeah, it's good. You can't just get rid of
Input before you.
revolving
I
doors. That
think
would
we
be-
should decide to do that.
I think, because when are we deciding to open the bids on the pump room?
Immediately.
It's out to bid now.
I know it's out to bid now, like when are we
The
expecting?
bids open up on, because of the RCO and the time needed, the bids are going to be opened on January 22nd, because you need 90 days or something out there.
So a February town hall.
So your February, I mean, you would, well, January 22nd, we'll know what the.
Yeah,
bids
we'll
are.
know the stuff, I think, maybe to like advertise a town hall for like after our regular meeting in February to say, this is what's going on with the pool to present. We have this much money
is what it's gonna cost, and this is what the pool costs per year.
This is how many people use it from.
And this is its thing. Do we want it or do we not? And we need to support other areas of the township that are absolute necessities.
It's gonna,
Pool you
yeah,
can get
and it's
into.
gonna continue to
You can get
be
nice
more
ones.
and more unsustainable.
What is?
The pool.
Well, that's a one-time expense, remember?
Yeah, but
The
you're gonna have to
millions, but the
replace it again.
500,000 every
And
year, just.
we're giving them $800,000 every single year just to function.
Well,
That's gonna
It's
increase.
true, but you have to remember, recreation is a part of government, not nearly as important or as large as public safety.
But it's a pool,
Yeah, but
a necessary
not
piece of
everyone has a
recreation
pool.
we as a government need to provide.
True,
Like-
it's not required, but recreation is.
Like in the same sense, like I think like a pool specifically, like there are enough people in this township that use Plymouth Swim Club and Plymar Swim Club, like there's pools in the area.
Summertime.
Outside.
Summertime,
You
yeah.
have to wait on a waiting list for like 3 freaking years, so
Mhm.
that's not really an
And
option.
it's much more expensive than going to the community center.
Yeah.
I
But as
think-
many people wait on waiting lists.
But the
Do they
community
come and
center
use the
pool's
community
getting really
center?
expensive too.
Been over there yet?
They keep raising the price for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't currently pay to go there for $18 per person. To struggle to spend an hour there because it's freaking freezing. I mean, I think I've already made it clear I hate the pool.
Well, I think the challenge is going to be, I think the pool is its own decision, and not that it's disconnected from everything else, because it
Yeah.
surely is connected to this in some ways, but that's a decision that I think we're going to have to make. I would totally agree, I think we can engage the community in that. There's costs to it, the community should understand what the cost of keeping the pool is, and what the benefit and value is, and be a part of that discussion, and we're not going to have those answers to make this,
Right.
unfortunately, to make this decision.
This decision, yeah, but I do think it's something that we need to make sure that we have set for February, because I think when we hit,
When we
Get
get
these
the
bids for the
bid
pump
back.
room.
Yeah, I think we see what.
Yeah.
because to me, our decision based on the bids on the pump room, do we go for the pump room or do we not, is the decision of whether or not we keep the pool.
Well, I think the bid, if it comes back.
Like,
that's-
obviously, but like,
If it comes back and we think it's 2.5 and it's 3.5 million, then we really have to think about that. I mean,
Yeah.
we really have to think about that cost and the ongoing cost of the pool, but that's not gonna help us make, unfortunately, that's its own challenging decision. This decision is like a now decision.
Yeah, we're talking for 4 officers, $1 million a year every year, and then more than $1 million going forward.
How many would you, see, if you would have to hire 4 for a new vehicle, what if you would hire 1, 2, or 3? Would that need a new vehicle too then? An extra vehicle?
If you decided on 2, what I would do is I would have to get rid of my power shift so that I could put 1 extra officer in each shift, because that's what I really need. And in that case, I could also take a vehicle away from what I've asked for.
What
Plus
is-
the,
What's a power shift? What does
a
that mean?
power shift is the squads work a rotating schedule, so they'll work from 7 to 7 in the morning for 2 weeks, and then 7 at night to 7 in the morning. They all rotate. Power shifts, when we decide what times of the daytime crime is the highest, or calls for service are the highest, what days of the week, I have people specifically working during those concentrated times, because that's when we get busiest. Like, for an example, on Tuesdays, when everybody in the county gets arraigned, we're going back and forth to the prison, transporting, doing arraignments, processing, court dates, and I need a lot of extra people for that. Just for transport calls, detectives handle the court, that kind of stuff. That gives you an example of certain times of the day. And what I found, ironically, is Monday through Friday, 8 to 4 is our highest concentration of calls. If you had to look, the weekends are a little bit less, nighttime is a little bit less. It's Monday through Friday, 8 to 4. But I think that's because everybody's at work. There's a lot of traffic. That you have your, daytime and nighttime rush hours, and so that's when I try and concentrate them. I would take 2 of those people off with 2 other people to put them on the squads, and then I could still staff the specialty squads, like highway, to have people in the neighborhoods, and I would still have my CPU, and so I mean that's doable and I could get rid of a car if that was the case.
I'll say something that won't get us any farther to a decision, but I feel like I'm about to say, but Chief, I think you've made, I mean, my personal opinion is you've made a compelling case for the need for additional support. I just struggle with how we can manage this inside, I mean, this year in particular, like a very constrained budget. So, I mean, that's not an answer, it's just a, I mean, I respect your need and the ask. I'm just struggling with like how we manage.
I agree.
How we manage this. Which isn't to say no, it's just I'm trying to think through like what the possibilities could be. And
Yeah, I mean, with some of the things that we cannot get away with not doing, like the Interceptor and some of those others, but they are one-time expenses, so that, you know, it may be that it has to be phased in,
What has to be phased in?
adding additional officers.
Oh, I see. Like, yeah. Well, I was wondering how we were gonna phase in the sewer project. I was like, how's that gonna work?
Yeah. Looking at the one-time expenses like Interceptor and the fire engine and, you know,
But I
those
mean,
kinds of things.
we're going into a budget deficit this year anyway, because all of these are coming due. And again, because I feel like we're going back, this 10,758,920 is like if we said yes to like the car or the additional vehicle, that's included in the 10,755 number. So when we say, if we were to say no to the additional vehicle,
But-
80,000 comes off of that. So like in terms of this year's budget, the stuff that we say no to on this list is decreasing that deficit.
But-
So it really is just a consideration for the future years, is this sustainable?
Those things are definitely in here though, Kellen, though, even though the
Just the health and
recommendations
benefits.
were no. So the recommendations were no, but those were factored in. I just want to be really.
Yeah, that's why
Just
Health
asked.
intentions were in
weren't in there.
They're not in there.
Okay, so using like those maintain sports organization contributions, that 34,300, that's in that
That's in
10,755.
So if you've made a
So when we
decision,
said no-
we just said
Reduce that.
1,000 each, so that's down to
So that's-
7,000 instead of 34.
So that's dropping,
So that's now
Puts it down to, I
7,000.
think, 14,000.
Yeah.
Because I think the 7,000,
so like that's closer to like 10,730 already,
I think it's 14,000, but, yeah.
instead of 10,755. So like when we say no to some of these things, that number is actually going down. It's just the future costs that we have to be worried
I
about.
thought we were just zeroing out the payments to the Colonial School District.
And
There was one
maybe
that was
this
in
is,
there
I mean,
that
it
was
doesn't,
Not the school
it
district, I
doesn't
don't
help
think.
a lot, but I mean,
I
there
know
were
it
a few
doesn't-
things
yeah.
that we said we might be able to push, right, so that lowers.
That can lower this
Right.
number this
But I
year.
mean, we're not coming close to what we
No.
would need for even like a single officer, much less
But that-
multiple
Right.
officers. And
I know we said that maybe not a decision that helps us now, but maybe like kind of thinking about that. It does, the pump room for the pool might be something we end up not doing, and the pool might be something we end up not doing, which answers that long-term sustainability problem when it comes to,
Yeah.
can we do this? Like, we can get that answered next year.
Yeah. Or it can exacerbate it if the pump room comes back 3 million instead of 2.5, and then there's a decision made to keep the pool, then we're in a worse scenario versus a better. But, but that unknown is a
But
little
I think that, yeah.
It is, yeah.
unsettling, but.
I lean towards adding two. I will say that, I lean towards adding two.
Yeah.
I think a phase-in plan seems reasonable, but I think we have to, I mean, in my opinion, we've got to figure out how.
Yeah.
Because that's $500,000 for the salary plus the benefits and fitting them out, because they need a lot of equipment to stay safe.
Yeah. But I mean, at least it's a starting point.
Yeah.
If three of us are thinking, that's a reasonable
And
solution.
we may have to, as low as our taxes are, we may just have to revisit our tax structure. And maybe not just real estate, but EIT also.
What is EIT now?
It's at 0.6.
0.6.
Well,
It
that's
doesn't
just the
just-
part we
That's-
keep.
That's what we.
That's
yeah.
what we
That's what
keep.
we keep.
It's 1
Yeah.
point-
Yeah,
it's
the
1.1,
school district is another.
right? Or
yeah,
1.2?
The school district is
It's
the other,
half.
the other 0.5.
They have 0.5.
Yeah,
Okay, so it's
so-
1.1.
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just to be clear from my perspective, Chief, if we were to just add 2, you'd be able to make your current fleet work without needing an additional vehicle.
I could make that work. I could get rid of a vehicle, and as we're talking, I'm trying to think I could minus $12,000 from training, because I had to anticipate when I did this that each officer had to go to the academy. So that'd be 2 officers, that it wouldn't be an issue. So that'd be 12,000 from training, it'd be 80,000 from vehicle.
And I don't know the ones on the list, if the
Well, the
top 2
next
would
two
be
on the
the ones
list
that need
have
it. Would they need it?
I know
One
one
would.
needs it, one doesn't. And even if I missed the one, the next guy, so I would need, you know what, I could get rid of, I could
You
get
might-
rid of
yeah, that might-
2,000.
Yeah.
Two trainings for sure, maybe an additional.
I could get rid of
What about the list?
2,000 from
Officer
training.
Ledoux, he's already sworn in, he's an overlap. The next woman needs academy, the third person.
Which we've already
applied.
just,
We hired
I mean,
her.
she's gonna be hired as a replacement
Yeah.
in December. So that doesn't count toward this. The next person,
So we're moving to this.
him, he's in the academy for another police department, and he insists that he will leave, so I would just have to I would have to reimburse.
That department.
So he would, yes, that'd be, if there's a new person, that would be an academy class.
So we've already got, well, we just swore in,
Yeah.
and then she's coming.
She's coming from this year's budget, yeah.
She's coming from this year's budget. And so then the next 2 would be no academy.
And
no
he does,
academy.
no, he's a police
that one's
officer.
Yeah.
The other one's a police officer already, the 4th one. So I wouldn't need the academy for him. So what I'm saying is I could deduct 18,000, because each academy class is
So
6,000,
there's 2 less that we're hiring and 1 that doesn't need it.
Yeah.
and then 80,000 for the vehicle. You said the vehicle was 80, is that right, Kellen? I don't.
Yeah, when you average them out, it comes about to 81,000.
82.
I took out the insert for the K9. I think you had a K9 for one of the vehicles. It's like $6,000 for a K9.
Well, that's
That's
a,
for one of the vehicles though, right?
well, that's for a K-9 vehicle.
Yeah.
I can still need that.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I didn't factor that into this.
What I could also get rid of
And I
is
spent 2 hours in Cunningtown.
under
2.5.
under uniforms.
This is the first.
I don't know what the exact number is, but you might have it.
Really?
Outfit
What's that?
as opposed to 4. Because those vests are, I think that's like $5,000 or $6,000 a piece.
What, go to Ponytown? Yes.
Come down my head.
I mean, that's what I had anticipated. I think those are the only, it was the training, it was the uniforms, it was the car.
You have to make this decision right now?
Well, we gotta pass the budget in December.
18.
I know, I would, well, we have this one.
And all these.
Know how much it is for,
Public.
So last year
There's
was,
so much
the budget's
To make
No,
a
Aaron
decision
hasn't
without
spoken.
all the information.
I think whatever decision we make on how many officers we
It's
decide to
gonna be-
hire, I think we have to increase
6,000
taxes
sound about right for officer?
to cover most of it, if not all of
So
it.
that's another
And
12,000.
that way, the tax increase is linked to
Yeah.
public
so-
safety.
So that's,
Yeah.
that's 110,000 I can deduct from my budget ask for uniforms, for academy, for a car, 110,000.
I mean, I hate not to do all 4, but.
Well, I mean, I understand what we're talking about. The thing is, I can work with 2. It means I don't have to cut nearly as much, and I can do things incrementally.
Yeah.
The important thing for me was to get people on those squads so that I could maintain at least what I have. So that helps. I mean, it's certainly, I appreciate it. It helps a lot.
Hopefully, we're not in this
And I think,
situation.
I also
next
think
year.
it'll make it different next year when we don't have all these gigantic
Yeah.
capital budgets sitting here. We know what we're anticipating over the next several years, and we can see how much we can phase.
Could we do the math, Kellen? I mean, what would
Yeah.
the tax increase look like if we were trying to cover?
People,
How much?
how much? How many?
How much would we have to increase it to?
if you were to make
How
that
much
even
would a
2.1.
person with a $180,000 house be increasing their taxes to pay for $500,000?
Well, that's if it all goes real estate and not EIT. Earned income.
We,
Yeah, I guess that's how
we
you
can't
do
do EIT right now.
Too late.
Yeah, it's
In
too
the
late
year.
in the year.
Oh.
We have to get
Three ads.
three ads in the paper for it to happen.
Oh, really?
If you were to make that number 2.1 that you're on right now,
What are we trying to,
I just want to look at the numbers.
what
So
are we
that
trying-
changes that $20 to 28.
what are we trying to, increase?
I just wanted to see.
Oh, okay.
I just wanted to see if
just
we
wants-
increased
he
the
just wants
millage
to use your
and how that
program.
would change the taxes paid more per year. Like that's,
Yeah, how does?
and how much more money it generated since the formulas are all in.
Yeah, so are we trying to generate another 500,000?
Like,
Yeah, I don't know, yeah.
I just wanted to see that number in general, like that was one of the numbers that I was just generally looking at it, that stuck in my head.
Also, just keep in mind, I don't know anybody, at least from near me, that has an $80,000 house.
This is the assessed
The
value.
assessment,
Oh, it's
though,
just,
yeah.
It's your assessed value, not your
Oh,
actual
thank God.
sale.
Yeah,
There's no house in Clinton.
What is this compared to like other municipalities and their real estate tax?
We're low.
so we're lower.
Really low?
Plymouth is lower, it's,
Yes.
I would say. Yeah.
How do you think Upper Marion can
just-
afford 74 police
Well, that's what I'm
officers? They
wondering.
have
Other people are doing it, so they have to be.
But the
yeah.
thing is, you don't wanna
Yeah, you
make
don't
that
wanna
do
hurdle
it.
right away.
Yeah.
You don't wanna like.
We don't want to
Right,
jump exactly
yeah,
to
yeah.
where they are.
So like, I know for off the bat, Wood Payne is 3.2.
Okay.
What's that?
Wood Payne is
Wood Payne's
3.2.
3.2.
What placement
You don't wanna
wise, how
stick
would you
around
put
for
them
the
in?
rest?
Like, I don't know, are we the lowest?
We're one of the lowest in the
Yeah.
county, I don't know.
In the county, yeah. And an overall tax as well, we're one of the lowest as well, and when you include the school district.
And we have twice a week captains. And they don't have to pay
Yeah, it's
for
another.
That's
yeah,
true.
Remember that too,
it.
yeah.
I was like,
Places have to
no
pay
one
for
else
pocket
does.
For their trash to be picked up.
PM to 5 AM.
White Marsh.
First curve.
White Marsh charges.
So actually,
So what's
Like,
a
I don't wanna
reasonable
do that.
increase though? Like
What
we're
was our
raising
usual-
it 18
yeah.
per year. What if like is
Down and what's your
raising it 30 something per year like unreasonable? I don't know
Typically,
the answer to
'cause
these
remind me,
questions. It could be a
We only do this
ridiculous
once a year.
suggestion.
Yeah, usually what has our average been? Because I know we've usually raised it a little bit every
Oh,
year.
for many years it was nothing.
For many years it was nothing, and I
when you do
know,
that, you get caught in
Yeah,
a bad situation where.
and I know, at least I think before my time, but I think during your first term and Monero's first term, you were doing a lot of, is when you started doing the incrementals.
Just, I can bring that up real quick if I can find it.
Yeah.
What are
So,
very small.
very small increase. So like,
Like everything.
exactly, we're still low.
Right.
We determined it was about 6,000,
The incrementals just a
so
little
it'd
bit.
be 12,000.
Yeah.
So what I have is.
Because like that goes back to what you're saying, like
18,000.
like $28 a year.
Training.
Say it was $24 a year, that's $2 a month. I don't think that's asking a lot.
Like locked in a certain time.
I was gonna say, I think that's more what it's about.
I'm sorry.
Right.
Oh, I forgot about
So
that.
that's 224.
Asking.
All of them, that it's
That's what-
624.
Okay.
So if we save two of them, that would be
So
224.
roughly only like 0.1 that we were increasing.
Save out of your budget.
23 to 24, we just
Actually,
but like
about 336 total.
337,
So yeah,
224.
we've been increasing it since 2020, toward 2021.
A
So
millage, a single,
if we have to
is it, you call it a tenth of a
raise the
mil?
taxes, if we take
Yeah,
that.
I always say it's a millage,
Stuff
a
is
tenth of a
in
mil.
the budget already for 4 officers, not their pension and healthcare, but the 4 are in. If we make
Yeah, except for last year, which was.
So what is our
we're
goal?
saving
we also increased the fire.
How much money
Services fee that year too.
Oh, okay.
So there's.
I'm sorry.
Rating and revenue.
That is just the-
It was just, it's just a real estate millage, yeah.
Oh, really?
Instead of that 110 that I said,
Yeah.
we just talked, it's actually 337 that we can
Oh,
get.
wow.
So we just deducted 337,000 from my budget as opposed to the 110.
for 4.
Forgot to take out the officer,
The actual salaries.
Two salaries.
So total, we came up with 337 out of this current budget. So hopefully that makes up some of
Because
what's.
did your budget that you
Yeah, that's
proposed
better.
include the health and?
No, but it did have their salaries.
Yeah. So I think that's why we said like it kind of broke even and we went with the 110 number, because by the time you add in like the health and benefits.
No, this is not even that, this is just what I budgeted for, 337, I'm taking out of my proposed budget.
Does that mean it's coming out of this 450 number? For
Yeah,
all
so
four
that
officers?
450, that
Part of
450
it.
gets cut in half.
Yes, that gets cut in half,
And that's their
Okay.
So you
salary.
don't really.
that's the salary, then the car
But we
comes
still need
out.
to put in
Oh,
the
right,
health
right,
and
right.
other benefits
Okay.
for us. That's why earlier they said it kind of broke even if we got rid of 2.
Right.
Because the salaries go away.
Right.
But then once we hire them, we still have to put their benefits back in.
Benefits go back in.
So that's kind of like,
Okay, okay.
so it's still that,
So,
it still might
yeah,
end
so
up close to that number. It's just, this number would
taking
be
300
much higher.
Right.
Because we still wouldn't need to add
Right,
the
right,
benefits.
right.
61.
Okay, I'm following now.
Yeah.
That's about
Since the 4 officers were in with the training, the uniforms, the car, and their salaries, and if you go down to 2, you would save $337,225,000 out of this proposed budget.
Right.
So I'm thinking that you probably don't need to raise the millage more than the 1/10 of a mill that we're already recommending
It should be
to
a lot.
stay at the same place as this draft budget.
Okay,
And then,
like to stay at
to
this.
stay here, and then,
I thought you guys weren't comfortable with
We
this.
should
though.
I'm not, but-
consider increasing our slight annual millage by a little bit instead of the 0.1.
are you suggesting more than 0.1?
We only did .057 last
Yeah.
year. Could we just do it to, what is it?
That's why I said I think the 2.1.
2.143.
Is this-
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Can you
we
say what you were gonna say,
Yeah.
Karen?
Well, my suggestion was gonna be, keep it a 1/10 of a mill, like proposed, because I think we put 4 in, but if we go to 2, I think it kind of washes out to the same, because the pension and healthcare and other things weren't in there, which would have doubled it, right? So I think that would, now, am I really comfortable at 5 million from 15? No, but I also think that the fire company loan is not gonna all be spent in 2025. It's gonna take 2 years to spend that money. Right, so maybe half of that is, so that might add 1.8 million into to the ending balance here, but then you would be on the hook to pay it the next year. But it's not gonna all be paid in 1 year. It's gonna take them a year and a half or more to build building.
Which was paying that back.
As far as that one goes. The pool pump room, hey, that's a big TBD, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And you have to have a lot of community input, in my opinion, before you make a major
Spend
decision.
that
I
much money.
agree.
To spend that much, or to fill it in.
Yeah.
I mean, either way.
Either way.
Either way, I think
I
we are
think
having a
that's
discussion, I
something-
think we need
yes.
to have a town hall in February,
Yeah.
once we open
Even
these bids.
spending, even keeping it open.
Unless somehow one of
Oh,
those bids
way
comes in for
bigger.
like $1 million,
They're going to be
but they're gonna be much
strong
more.
opinions on both sides.
Oh, I know,
Mhm.
I know.
No, but I think that's it exactly. I think either way, this is a community conversation.
Yeah.
Either we're keeping a very, very expensive recreational benefit, or we're getting rid of something that a lot of people enjoy.
Right.
So it's a good community conversation, one way or the other.
But I think it's good to know that, it's also said that we're gonna do it in February and start getting that word out now, because there's gonna be strong opinions.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think as soon as.
Because-
I agree.
I think as soon as we know what the cost.
Yep.
I mean, I think we should announce we're gonna do it now, and that we're anticipating on finding out the costs. Same way that we say, like, for like the County Town updates, like, update them, we're anticipating learning about these costs, we expect it to be a lot, and we feel the need that we want township input. To let them know that we're anticipating that from the get-go, and we're gonna wanna hear it. This is when we would like to hear it, like timeline-wise for us, to A, have information to give to you, and B, be ready to
I think Karen wanted.
use your information to make a decision.
Yeah.
I think
Like-
Karen wanted those back when she's passing those back.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
You gotta get me.
Which one?
The one that has all the every officer's name.
Gotcha.
I think it's underneath.
Yes, underneath, there it is.
Yeah.
Just read they're having, the county's having
Yeah, so I was gonna get to
draft
your
budget meetings as
question.
well, because they're suggesting a good size increase too. But I just saw they're having like town hall type meetings for their budget increases. I forget
Oh,
what
really?
percentages proposed, but.
Yeah, but they're going from like a 4.7 to something higher than that. And
Oh, yeah,
they've-
they have an
went from-
increase.
yeah,
They
they've
have a
been-
good size increase
They've been
this
good
year.
size increases the past 2-3 years in the county.
Mhm.
The one time they just put in a community college tax, but
Mm.
it's still an increase.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I think we should go with
Oh, sorry.
that increase to 2.1.
Because we can always
For
do
this
it
year.
lower next year, but this
I mean, we
year-
kind of said like originally when you started the 0.1 each year, but for whatever reason, 23 to this year was only the 0.57. So I think it's fine to make that
Because
up
this year we can link it
this
to
year,
the-
and we have public safety
to
that
the
we,
fire and this.
I mean, well-
A little bit more this year.
Yeah.
and all of our
I
freaking
agree.
capital projects that need to get done, like sewer.
So that would put it up to 28
Yeah,
per
so
year,
There's-
plus the fire services fee or whatever.
Yeah, the fire, it's included in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but instead going to 2.1.
2.1.
And what is the impact to the
$28.
resident who, yeah?
$28 a year.
So somebody who owns a $180,000
$80,000
home,
home.
$20
Assessed
a year.
180.
Assessed at 180.
Assessed, that's right.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
for
Nobody's
a
house is
typical
Yeah.
business
Yeah.
property,
Yeah.
so we have that figured out. It's
Mhm.
about, it would be 1,500 for business, large commercial property.
1,500 for the big commercials, yeah.
And then where does that leave us in terms of revenue generated from?
It's 230,000, 231.
But that's half of what we.
No, because there was the
No.
$337,000 that would be removed from the
That's
budget.
coming
right?
out of the police budget.
So that would add to, am I doing that right?
Yeah, right now this would add to the bad balance.
By taking out the 2 police officers.
Make sure my math is mathing, you know.
The county real
Oh, my
estate
math
millage
is
for
down.
2025 is set, proposed at 5.642 mils. Your average single-family home with a market value of $520,000
What
would
they're-
pay $965 of county real estate in
Oh, my
2025.
God.
Yeah, with a market value, not
Are
assessed.
are they basing it on the assessed value or the market value?
Market value, that's what it says.
County taxes are based on the market value?
Well, that's what they're just giving you that example, but they don't say based on your assessment.
That's real
You know
estate
why?
taxes?
Because I'm sure it's
That's real
such a
estate.
broad
Another
difference
$1,000.
between
So that's like what comes out of my mortgage.
each area's assessed value.
Yeah.
They probably still don't even give it.
They don't do it by township. This is just.
Yeah, they wouldn't say, oh, the average.
The millage is the important part. That's
Yeah.
5.642.
Oh, I noticed it last, I think it was last year when they increased it.
So maybe it's late in the game to ask this question, but I'll ask it just because. So, I mean, Karen, Kellen, like, we're looking at a budget deficit of $110 million. We're not concerned about that.
Spend down, really, yeah.
I mean, there's nothing about that we should be staying up late at night worrying about, or?
The only thing that worries me is really the sewer interceptor, what that's gonna come back as. That's the only thing really, and maybe the pool pump room. But one of the things that they, in GFOA, Government Finance Officer Association, they tell you, just to be safe, have 2 months worth of operating expenses put aside, which for us is like 4.8 million. So we're about
So that's like really close.
we're close to it, but we're still above it. And like Karen said, the firehouse isn't gonna all be spent this year.
When is the interceptor going out to bid? Or is that?
It's already out to bid,
No,
right?
it's not out to bid right this minute. Like I said, we just got the grant last week, so it hasn't gone out to bid again. I just, probably,
Is this 1.5 what we expect to pay on top of the money we got from the grant? Or is this
So this is gonna be, this is what we're paying to the sewer fund that is gonna pay for the project.
Okay.
It's coming out of the general
Yeah,
fund
so
for
the
the
general
sewer
fund is
fund,
paying the sewer.
for it. The
Right.
sewer, the project is
Kind of
like,
like the community center, the pool pump. we're
So
paying.
there's this 1.5 that's going into the sewer fund. There's money for it already in the sewer fund.
Yep.
And then there's what we expect to get from this grant.
Correct.
with 900,000.
Well, 900,000 isn't factored in yet, but this
Yeah.
We just got that.
could be better. And the beginning cash balance also could be better as well. It's just a projection right now.
Yeah.
More than likely, it will probably be around that, maybe a little bit better, but
I mean, it helps when not every department spends everything in their budget.
Yeah.
And they give back a little bit. That's helpful.
so what I do is I do run a projection so that we can get to that beginning cash balance.
But we feel comfortable that we left ourselves some space, should something go wrong, should some of the bids come in higher than we anticipate, should something happen we haven't even imagined yet?
Yep.
They call it officer
This is
work.
also just general fund as well.
Right.
Sewer fund, if we come in better, we might not have to transfer as much out to the sewer fund. Community center, if it comes in better, we might not have to transfer as much out or use as much of that operating transfer. So it always, I think it's very, a very, cautious budget,
Okay.
which is probably the best way to look at it.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
don't-
Yeah, yeah,
you don't
100%.
go another way.
I mean, like, to be master of the obvious, like, I think it's fiscally responsible for us to do the things for the township that need to be done, to make sure, public safety and sewer and everything works, but it's also fiscally responsible to make sure we haven't cut ourselves too close in case something, like I said, unimaginable happens, that we've given ourselves enough room. But you're saying we have, so I'm gonna assume tonight. Possibly.
Yeah, you're good.
Probably not, though.
You need to use it. It's just out there.
So are we going to stick with 0.1 mil for the, for real estate?
We doing point one, or are we doing more?
Well, Nick's
Nick's
suggestion is to go to
Go up to
2.1.
2.1.
I think, because I mean.
The total millage, not.
The total millage, yeah, not 2.1 overall.
Not adding
Yeah.
2.1.
So instead of because the year before we did, 23 into 24, we did just .057, so this one's just .143. So essentially, it still gives between 23, 24, 25, it still went up more.
So we cleaner.
Average of 1 mil a year.
We don't want it to look.
And you're saying
Oh my
there's a
God, I
lot
can't
in.
tell you how many times on Jeopardy that people wager just $99, or they get down to like the 01, or like that weird number, and it
counties go up.
helps the hell out of me. I mean, even number
You
Jeopardy
need
wager.
an even number.
It's right now, it's
It just looks cleaner.
4.7.
It does.
Just looks cleaner.
So we're gonna be paying one more.
Yeah, Jeopardy, he could have won the whole thing, but he wagered 100 instead of 99, and he just made
To
$100.
the community college.
So clean, hopefully it's in there.
That includes the college.
All right.
Oh, yeah, it did.
If I would have known the answer, I would have been fine.
So that's the millage.
Who cares how much I lose by if I also didn't know?
Just winning the county.
Yeah, it's the county.
It's the county's fault for taxes.
We better go through.
Hopefully people are like,
And-
oh, it was the county that was
yeah,
worse.
Did we decide 100% on the fire service fee going from .835 to .845 to hopefully generate $10,000?
10 million, yes, please.
You would love that.
Listen,
Do that.
I can do a lot with that.
I had that from like an hour and a half ago. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
I think it's
I think
fair,
so.
yeah, all right.
Every little bit helps, right?
Okay. So we'll be at 2.945.
Not today.
Yep.
Okay, total. All right, last thing I think you need to decide is, you thought you were finished, wait, a couple
Well, we
things
have-
more?
we
Oh,
have-
oh,
No, we
sorry.
have three, we have several things.
We
Okay.
have four more.
And the ones on here, okay, good. Okay. Figured out the car. The police officer, so, I mean, that's, so if you've agreed to hire 2 more officers, then we won't worry about the one who may retire in May or June until that time comes.
Right.
So when that person
And
retires.
I don't think
You're not sure if you.
Very wishy-washy, so.
Okay, so we have 2 additional, so it'll go from 48 to 50.
And then we'll just put
And
it-
then wait whenever he puts it in
Somebody
writing,
actually-
or any person puts it in writing, then that's when we replace that next person.
Yeah, I was about to add, yeah,
Okay.
as soon as an officer ever puts something in writing for you.
There-
Right, and that's
So
what.
that, you see
Override
that was a no, so that wasn't in the budget.
Yeah.
We're not saving that, but we're not gonna spend it either.
As long as I have, on that topic real quick, and I have you all here, is it reasonable, since I don't lose these people, though, that as soon as we get into the new year, I capitalize on getting the top people? You know what I mean? Once we get into January, I just don't want to lose,
Probably gonna lose somebody.
I might lose the next
The
person.
next drop person.
But the next couple
Yeah.
after that are still good, but I just want to make sure,
So
I'm
they'll
waiting till the new
They'll
year.
adopt this budget on December 9th.
And if I ask to appoint in January, is that okay? If it's adopted in December?
Yeah.
I mean, is there any reason?
Yeah, is there any reason
It's
not
not
to do that?
unusual to ask, to start purchasing something after the budget's been adopted, like you could ask maybe in that meeting, and we have it on the agenda to, you know.
After we approve the budget,
After the
yes.
budget.
So he can't ask to do it
Can
until
you-
after the
can you
budget's
hire-
passed.
Well, that's generally,
Yeah,
I mean,
generally,
that's
yeah.
generally when you
Yeah.
begin to ask, sometimes.
Just to capitalize.
Even to order
For
cars. and
those two
vehicles.
people, yeah, and if,
Like discount, 2024 discount on top.
because he's already, like I said, in the academy, so I'm just trying to work that out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a chief that's very mad at me
Steal 'em.
for poaching somebody. Okay, I just wanted to make, because they're good candidates, I just
Yeah.
want to capitalize. We've been lucky so far, we've been getting all the top picks, and that's
Yeah.
great.
Okay.
You guys want top row?
So, the next one is the fire marshal vehicle. And he's been asking forever and ever, and I think they do prefer the pickup trucks, and you don't really have leftover pickup trucks too much, so,
No, not at all.
not at all. We had a couple once or twice, right?
And I gave it to him because
Yeah.
that was my predecessor, I didn't want to pick up truck.
Yeah, but for the kind of gear that he carries and such, he's asked, but everything else within that, everything else gets hand-me-downs, you know.
Is this in the,
It's in the budget.
New fire marshal.
oh, yeah,
Yeah.
because it says yes.
Everything else here
He's
is
been
in.
asking for a couple of years
I
now.
remember his presentation.
Ask it's decided.
Is that a yes?
Yes, that's a yes. Well, I'm saying yes for everybody.
And sports contributions, we already talked about.
We talked
knocked
about
that
that.
down.
We knocked that down. Okay, so the last thing is the increase in fire company contributions. We have 5% in the budget,
But we're going up to the.
but we're going to increase the fire service fee, so, you know, do you want to make that 6%?
Yeah, I mean, that's,
Is that which
I mean,
generator?
we,
Yeah, that's what we did, yeah.
I mean, we would have to use it for that, and we, I
Yes.
think we want to use it for that, right? So,
That money can only be spent on emergency services. It could be police, fire, ambulance. Police is pretty much in the general fund, so it could be, you know.
so on the topic of ambulance, I guess.
And back to him.
Yeah, so should any
A
of
portion of
that
that go
go
to-
toward ambulance?
Well, so, let's see, you agreed to give them what they got last year, but did we settle up their ask or anything
I
toward?
don't think we settled on.
Or anything toward their ask?
They're asking for 210,000 if they
Yeah,
want
that's a
that
lot.
140,000 vehicle.
Oh, yeah, they
But, you know, so obviously, you obviously
And
wouldn't
we
have that
give
much,
them
but
half
I mean,
of
you
what
could give
they
them
get
something
from other
extra.
municipalities.
I mean, I feel like if we
Split it
split,
ways.
I was about to say, if we split whatever we just generated, putting it up, freeways,
And it's not close to what he's asked for, but it's something,
It's a little more than we gave him last year.
That's what.
Split, I think what you guys were
Whatever
saying,
the
was
increase
split the
is.
increase 3 ways between
Harvard
two fire
Building.
companies and the ambulance.
got it.
Increase.
No matter
The
how.
percentage won't be like.
Let's see, that one, it's probably gonna be like 75.
3 is a nice
I
number.
think it's gonna be a
It's
minimum.
It's probably gonna be 75,000.
Everybody's good with that, just split it?
Yeah.
So-
2,000.
Yeah, 3 ways.
On top of 5%.
Yeah.
They'll get the 5% plus the.
Wonderful.
Plus the split 3 ways, the difference in the increase.
Yes.
In the fire service fee.
Yep.
I like the number.
Is there anything we haven't thought about, Karen or Kellen, doing that? I mean, is that reasonable?
Yeah, it gives them all a little more money.
Yeah, I mean, we're
Yeah.
already
No,
giving, I
suggested.
mean, we're giving them half of what they get from all the other municipalities combined, so I think it's fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, I also noticed that they make a net income of $140,000. So,
It's not like they're not gonna
have that already, so they can use that for capital purposes if they want to.
Okay. I think we're finished this portion of the evening. Does anybody have anything else? We have a very short executive. I hope so.
Next item?
I told you it should be 5 or 6.
Training was already blown at that point, so that's why I was like, oh, those guys are handling it. I'll just hang out. It's easier for me to go right here to go home than it is to drop down to the firehouse.
Taxes at risk, are you? I'm skipping training tonight. Your hours to get the real estate taxes. He doesn't care about the millage, but he's bothered. What's the school district doing?
I'm actually talking to Chris Schwartz tomorrow about it. We're close with them, very close.
Okay, are we adjourned?
Meeting adjourned.